Hey, bro.
Huh?
Let me ask you a question, man. Why you ain't change clothes, bro?
Let me ask you a question. Every time you see me, you gotta ask me a question like you 50 Cent asking people 21 questions.
But, bro, you gotta have some hygiene,
Let me
man.
ask you, did you take a bath last night?
Of course, and that's what I'm telling you, man. You gotta have some hygiene,
Well,
man.
congratulations, because I'm homeless and I don't have the luxury to take a bath every night and wash clothes like that. So be grateful for what you got and stop always talking about people and stuff. That's what's wrong with people. They always talking about people instead of trying to help them and stuff. Just thank God that you able to take a bath and change your clothes every night. I might have them on the next day and the next day and the next day. That's between me and God. You worry about yourself. Any more questions?
You good,
Oh,
bro.
all right, that one I thought. Have a blessed day.
If you're tired of being censored on social media, join 60s.net. It's black owned, black operated, and black moderated, and we make sure it stays a safe space for us to talk about all things black culture. We also got some cool gear like the FDM cotton crew neck, the Fearless Ancestors tee, hats, and more. Check us out at 60s.net.
Hey girl, why are you so sad?
I just got banned from Twitter again.
Should have been on 60s.net. Ah.
What you are looking at is a monument to Wade Hampton. Wade Hampton was one of the largest enslavers in the state of South Carolina, which was one of the largest slave-holding states. And yet, here on the Capitol grounds, there is a monument to him. If South Carolina wants to recognize and remember this period of history, then it is incumbent upon South Carolina and the United States as a whole to repair the damage that has come from this period in history. At the end of the Civil War, Black Americans who are descendants of American slaves, legislatively called freemen, were supposed to receive their 40 acres in a mule, but that never happened. Instead, they saw their black Wall Streets burnt to the ground. They experienced Jim Crow, they experienced redlining, which robbed them of billions in dollars of wealth. In order for America to heal, Black America has to be repaired. I am running to repair Black America because until we all stand, we all have fallen.
Tick faster. That'll be the hour they knock the slick blaster. Dick dastardly, a Muttley with sick laughter. A gunfight and they come to cut the mix master. And living the true gods. Giving y'all nothing but the lick like two broads. Got more lyrics than the church got ooh lords. And they hold the mic at your attention like two swords. Or you the one with two blades on it. Hey you, don't touch the mic like it's AIDS on it.
All right, welcome once again to the Beatzilla PDX official show. I am your host, Beatzilla PDX officially. All right, now y'all can hear me. And as you are coming in, please hit the like button, the share button as well, and subscribe. And of course, if you are new to this broadcast and wondering if you have not already subscribed, why you cannot enter into the chat, it's because you have not subscribed yet. So you could do that right now. Also hit the notification bell, hit the word all so you'll be notified anytime this broadcast goes live or a video is uploaded. And as y'all can see, it is the weekly wrap up. So we have some things to talk about. So let's see who we got here in the house. Let's see who we got in the chat thus far. Brandon Cruz Singh, Silent D Productions, Nikki the God, Chief Moderator in the house. Oyela Arquette. All right, we are now international. Tanya Zion, welcome. Tia to you, greetings. Roderick Allen, welcome. Louise, how you doing? Black Magic, Tasha Peters, Aboriginal Woman. All right, welcome everyone. So I think I got everybody. All righty. So here recently this week, I don't know if you guys have kept up with the itinerary with this current president, but for those of you who don't know, he was recently here in my city. So there has been some, he had his little, speech to do, and I guess we'll touch a little bit of that. But this is the propaganda that they're putting out. And I want to make a point to say that New Black Media is doing the grassroots New Black Media, the B1 environment has basically changed the world, and the world is taking notice. So with that being said, He's already on a personal show my face tour. He didn't do this when he was actually running for president. So let's get to first his little ad, which pretty much, again, is irrelevant to black folks. But yeah.
Millions of Americans of every age and background rallied together for the first Earth Day, a vision of a healthier, more prosperous America and, quite frankly, world. And over time, they delivered cleaner air, cleaner water, proof that a sustainable environment can mean a stronger economy. They're not in conflict with one another. And today, a new generation of Americans is leading the way against the threat of a climate crisis. My administration stands with them as we listen to the science and turn crisis into opportunity, modernizing our infrastructure to make it more resilient to extreme weather, spurring investment in clean energy that cuts costs for families and businesses, bolsters our energy independence, and creates millions of good-paying union jobs. Last year, the United States deployed more solar, wind, battery storage, and electric vehicles than any other year in our history. We set ambitious standards to cut pollution from cars, trucks, and industry as well. We're advancing locally led conservation efforts and protecting our public lands. We're reasserting America's leadership in the world once again, including recruiting over 100 countries to reduce methane emissions and announcing the first ever carbon-based trade deal. And we're lifting up communities and workers too often left behind and left out. We know there's much more to do. On this Earth Day, we have to recommit ourselves to the work that lies ahead to achieve a more secure and prosperous, more sustainable future. One where we strengthen our economy, pass on a healthy planet down to our children and grandchildren, make life better for everybody. So happy Earth Day. Let's keep the faith.
Let's keep the faith. Now, so take in mind that everything is going down here in Portland, Oregon, the Northwest. This is the agricultural hub of the states. Kathy B, welcome. Bugines in Flournoy. Tia to you, welcome. Dark skinned brother, hey. So, you said there was a shooting. Oh yeah, I saw that. There was a shooting. It was like 2 people shot out there in DC near a school. Man, see, I'm gonna get to that as well. In this broadcast, we're gonna touch a little bit of the uptick in violence, which I have a sneaking suspicion is not all random. Some could be by design, possible. But in the meantime, this is how the president was greeted in my city. Check it. So yeah. And this is like a real liberal city. This is a very liberal city. And what you don't see, don't get it twisted. You'll see Trump flags all over the place. And on trucks and whatnot here, because there's still some, there's still very much some Dixieland lovers here in this area. So yeah, they went out there to go let President know how they felt. Because see, they're still upset about the 2020 protests here in Portland, and upset that nothing was done. But see, here's the big point. That's just a big charade because Joe Biden has already given the police more money. And with this uptick in violence, notice how everybody's talking violence. How that now, here's the one thing I'm not understanding. Where is the black community's concern? They keep interjecting black people's concern is violence and crime. It's like, no, that's not a black community issue. So I'm wondering where that's coming from because we see it so often. And so tonight we are going to have to talk about a few things. Within the way of movements and how movements grow, you always have different kind of individuals who will pop up here and there and try to get them some, or some are placed they're placed there. And let's just see here. I showed y'all a little bit about this woman before, but this is one that I guess has hopped in spaces because this is going to be one of the other I showed you the other woman who went viral, which is like Hillary Clinton's little hand-picked woman who will come out and start being the white woman who represents racial justice, like how us black folks, the grassroots, are pushing the conversation for justice. Oh, well, now they want to throw these white women and put them on the top like as, oh, well, no, we got this now. You guys can just sit back and relax. No, ma'am. And not only that, though, we're not taking any more hand-picked by the system individuals to speak for us. So we'll pass. But check this out.
Ordinary candidate running for Congress. On one hand, she's a public health researcher who is advocating for social, racial, economic, and environmental justice. But on the other hand, she was a former stripper. And she says that makes her uniquely qualified. Please welcome Alexandra Hunt. Welcome. So good to see you. Thank you for coming on here. Alexandra, can you talk to us about your decision to come out publicly with your past that so many in Congress we've seen and otherwise in politics have tried to hide? You've been very open about it.
Yes, well, I had two reasons for really being so forthcoming with my past. One is that I didn't want it to be dragged out of the closet and used against me and potentially derail our campaign as we built it. And the other reason was I was in community with sex workers, and when I told them that I was preparing to run for office, they said, please don't leave us behind. And I think to fall silent on a community is to be harmful. So I decided to lead with it. Wow. And here we are.
So, Alexandra, to put it frankly, what has the reaction been? And what has been the worst criticism that you've received personally?
Well, the reaction's been really mixed. There have been some people who really commend me for being brave and for stepping forward with such vulnerability and honesty. And then there has been an onslaught of disgusting commentary, honestly, through all different facets of into the campaign. And I think the worst is really subjective.
Take note of that part. Take note of that part. See, that's one of those, right? That's one of them little seeds that they can plant right now that's not really actually happening. And it's really a vague reference to things that are happening, like what's actually happening. How are you being harassed? What's being done nasty to you? She's not really saying one thing or the other, and not putting a finger or a label or an address, as we just heard, to it. So, with that being said, make sure you take note of that little vague, open-air point. Yeah.
And so I would say that the worst thing I've heard is when I'm told that I can't be a good role model for young girls because of this piece of my past.
So, Alexandra, let me follow that up, because I always focus, I try to focus on the future. I write my goals out. I always try to be positive.
Now, she's running for public office. They are talking past her past. That's how they do. He said she ain't even cute. I mean, the interesting thing is like, it's more get your booty to the pole. But this is like, instead of us pandering for you just to vote, let's give you a stripper candidate. And this woman has actually been around for like 8 years. Why now is she all of a sudden so viable to us?
How do you put your past behind you, because everybody has a past, whether they like to admit it or not, and focus on your goals in the future?
Well, I think that I'm doing that. I'm using it to move forward to the future that I want to be a part of, which is where sex workers are not shamed or criminalized for things that they are doing currently to make an honest living, or in their past to make an honest living.
Well said.
When you decided to come forward and share your story, obviously you knew there were going to be critics. So how do you respond to people who specifically feel that you shouldn't be in a position of power and influence because of your past?
I think that people have their own biases, and it's something that we need to push forward with. And that's been something I've been trying to do on this campaign trail. And it really, all I've done is work to pay my bills. And the decisions that I make of what sort of field I want to go into is not really anyone's business or place to judge. And on the campaign trail, we've been running a fully grassroots campaign. We're not taking any corporate money. So I think that there's really a double standard here of.
Now, that part. Okay, so that interview right there is actually from like a few years ago, where she said she's not taking any corporate money. This ad is just from a couple months ago. Let's see if things have changed.
I think the reason people are so drawn to our platform and can relate to my story, even if they haven't participated in sex work where they're not a young woman, is because it's a story about what it's like to survive in America with.
I'm confused here. Somebody help me out in the chat. She keeps referring to sex work, but she's a stripper, right? And she's a stripper from Pittsburgh or Philly. Well, I'm from Portland, Oregon, one of the few states where strip clubs can get butt naked. So that means she's like a topless dancer. Or, best. She's a topless dancer over in Philly. So she keeps talking about sex work, sex workers and sex workers. Well, how are you getting to sex work when you're a stripper? I thought that was entertaining. Since when is strip clubs moved into sex work? Maybe I'm confused. This is interesting words she's using.
No guardrails. The police aren't coming to help us. Our government doesn't really have stable longevity programs that are going to help us. And we're really out here on our own.
Wait. Say what now? Let's go back. Let's check that out again.
Where they're not a young woman is because it's a story about what it's like to survive in America with no guardrails. The police aren't coming to help us. Our government doesn't really have stable longevity programs that are going to help us. And
okay, yeah, that's what I was. Okay, right. So she's a former stripper. You wouldn't be on the street vulnerable, in danger, and need the police when you're stripping in a strip club, right? I mean, maybe got strip clubs confused from her era, but I mean, considering, no, I don't think so.
we're really out here on our own. When the pandemic struck, I was out with my community getting testing out and eventually vaccine distribution, helping to distribute menstrual items, doing food distribution at a site. And I just looked at how long the line was, and it wrapped around the building and down the street. And I thought, they're not coming to help us. And so that was when I decided to run for office.
And what's so funny is she actually ran for Congress 8 years ago. So now she's using the pandemic as the launching point. This is what you call reinvention of a candidate that didn't cut it back then, and they're trying to push it again now. Why now? Oh, because what they're trying to do is move black issues into sex issues. And that ain't where we at with it. Reparations got nothing to do with gender. Reparations ain't got nothing to do with sex. Reparation ain't got nothing to do with nothing but reparations. And these people are something else.
Since being forthcoming on this race that I used to work as a stripper, people have been saying, why does that matter? And to me, I know that they are trying to be accepting of my past and saying that's irrelevant. You can still be a candidate. But it just shows how little they understand what it's like to live that life, and how far sex workers, strippers, or people in any sort of stigmatized position, how marginalized they are and pushed into the shadows.
Interestingly enough, when Joe Biden was running for president, the person who he went to go talk to for black issues was none other than Cardi B, a former stripper. Go figure. Oh, one who actually admitting to drugging men and robbing them. Meaning, oh, she wasn't just a stripper. She was also a hooker. Whether she was actually turning tricks or not, but she's in the room under the guise of pimping or tricking and hoeing. So understand, I don't know what people, it is what it is, because that when you're doing that, that's what that is, ain't it? Or you just randomly picking some dude up from a strip club. I guess maybe that's how it can happen. I don't know the game to work that way, but all right. Who knows?
We have a school to prison pipeline, and that puts young people who are policed in schools or don't foresee a bright future ahead of them or opportunity because of maybe the house that they're living in or the environment and neighborhood they're growing up in. They drop out of school and then they're targeted by police and put into the prison industrial complex, where they're then exploited for their labor. I grew up in the...
I guess we're just going to go ahead and plagiarize Dr. Kunjufu all the way, huh? Good Lord. Well, boy, no stone unturned. And you know what? This is a point I also want to make, because this dude had something to say in one of these spaces the other night about a question. And he kept alluding to white supremacist talking points. And asking a question to black folks would trigger something in black folks that has something to do with white folks. I still can't comprehend how he kept trying to shoehorn or wedge white supremacist talking points into a conversation amongst black folks. But, no, see what she's doing talking about the school to prison pipeline is she's talking around white supremacy and oppression and direct interaction and targeting by law enforcement and the system of black children. Notice how you didn't actually hear who was targeted. She's talking about, well, by where they live. The school to prison pipeline is literally a term coined by Dr. Kawanza Kunjufu. Those lectures are on YouTube, so I guess she must have been studying. Make no mistake. Just like that rat, that FBI informant that went through all of them different organizations to disband for the government. Yeah, you know that all of those tactics are these tactics. COINTELPRO, straight up. Because now she's going to come out and start talking about, yeah, black folks, I'm representing you. And see, because I'm a stripper, I know what it's like to be out here in dangerous situations. You know, when the police won't come and help you and stuff. I mean, shoot. And then we got the prison, the school to prison pipeline. I mean, just because of where you live. Woo-wee. I hope, and this time, yeah, it ain't gonna work. But you know what this says? This says they have given up on the idea of even putting a fake black candidate in front of us. They said, screw it. Let's just put a white woman up here and say, well, hey, she understands.
Inner city of Rochester, and I was in a very poor neighborhood. It just really seemed wrong to me that depending on where you live in your zip code would affect the quality of schooling that you would get. And that kids up for failure. I believe that we need to take the funding of public education to the federal level because that is how we can properly fund it and make sure that it is equitable across the country, regardless of zip code. Healthcare is a major part of our platform. So is the environment, so is education, so is mass incarceration, because everything is intersectional and they tie into each other. And if one thing is dragging...
Did you catch that? Everything is intersectional. Except for the word black, obviously, because she definitely has not mentioned race. She's talking about zip codes and neighborhoods, and she's using a lot of talking points that a lot of our scholars and elders have actually already spoken out here in the wind. So it's kind of amazing to hear it coming from somebody like that. You know, that's very interesting. I mean, are you hearing, for those people who study different scholars, are you hearing her break down just randomly different scholars' stuff? And one of the things that dude said is that these people learn more about us than us. So you're never going to be in a position where, oh man, you giving the white man information, man, by asking these questions. Man, if you don't, shut up. If you have a phone, they know everything and more than we could ever know about you. So calm it down. You don't need to come on here to everybody's space and be a freaking scholar. Stick to the program and keep it simple, Jimmy.
Person down, it can drag down the whole community, the whole family, and it ties in.
Oh, Lord.
We are in the midst of a pandemic, and because of our government's corporate interests, they are looking the other way. They have supplied a vaccine, and outside of that, they're not taking any sort of responsibility for the protection and health of our community. That's not a government that's for the people. That's a...
Well, wait a minute. Uh-oh. Oh, boy, we just kind of did a little run-on thing now, right there. Hold on. Wait. The pharmaceutical companies are not the government.
Our government's corporate interests, they are looking the other way. They have supplied a vaccine, and outside of that, they're not taking any sort of responsibility for the protection and health of our community. That's not...
Oh, okay, I did hear that right. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm not crazy. I mean, just making sure my ears heard that correctly.
Not a government that's for the people, but the government that's for the corporation. I think I'm already proving the haters and the doubters wrong. They didn't believe that we could build a platform. They didn't believe that we could get any sort of attention. They didn't believe that we could get donors. They
can't
didn't
even
believe
be
that,
sassy.
that I could and our campaign could be taken seriously. So we're already proving them wrong. The haters are going to hate, and we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
The haters are going to hate. Oh, what is Destiny's Child now? Jeez. Yo. Okay, and this is what I'm saying, man. They ain't even trying no more. Okay? They just throwing whatever they can at you, and they just don't give a damn. It's like, these niggas gonna do whatever they want to do anyway. And now we're losing the Hispanic voters. Now, what she said about the government, right? The government. Now, put that in perspective. When you listen to this other little piece here from a person who was saying he wished he would have done more about disinformation under his control. Funny thing is, the whole disinformation thing happened a whole presidential term after you were gone. But, I mean, nonetheless, hey, here, what do I know, man?
Despite the fact that we've now essentially clinically tested the vaccine on billions of people worldwide.
If you, just in case you didn't, if you missed it, let me help you. If you didn't catch him, he said, we, meaning an active participant.
Clinically tested the vaccine on billions of people worldwide. Around 1 in 5 Americans is still willing to put themselves at risk and put their families at risk rather than get vaccinated. People are dying because of misinformation.
No, I don't think it's misinformation, brother. You know, when we grow up in a society where some of us know better to not listen to people who don't look like us for how things are really actually affecting us or what we actually legitimately see or witness. You know what I mean? Because, see, say, for instance, you had little kids. They say little kids aren't taught this or little kids aren't taught that. They're not inherently this or inherently that. Ain't that what they say? You know, little preschool kids, right? Well, I mean, shoot, they haven't even learned their ABCs or how to spell yet. But something that they have already firmly adopted.
You better not bite my dog. What's wrong with you? Go down the slide. Go down the slide.
Yeah, you see, Dad had to get involved. Like, hey, you better not bite my daughter. Yeah. Now, and here's the thing. Where are that little girl's parents to say, hey, that's not what you do? Here's the point. When you have people that teach their children to do that, we need to learn from that. Don't you think? So when someone can say, hey, this is good for you. Well, if you're teaching your children to act like that towards babies, why would I believe anything you tell me that's good for me? Now that makes me a fool, doesn't it? And I just have to say, for those who would desire to be in the spaces to where they might not see themselves but want to be, you will always have to understand standing on your own. Like a platform like this and others. See, when you're a content creator, you have to stand on what you say and own it. Chat lines will always be different because there's nothing to lose for a bunch of rambling on a chat line. I'm not saying all chat lines are bad. What I will say is, it is not this. That being said, this one. Got to get something clear. Not sure what people think. And as I said, in all new movements, you'll have different situations that occur. And this movement is like, oh man, I see power attached to it. Well, that's because there's scholarship attached to it. Now, I understand, man, that having a black movement, it's accessible, so you feel. And it is, because it's for the people. But you cannot just look to blatantly disrespect those who have already put that work in, put that time in, and you're 3 months old talking about what you're going to become a part of with no relationship to anyone that is actually part of it. And then you don't even actually follow these individuals while using their words that I guess other people have brought into your spaces. Well, we have to address that part. Because the one thing about when you do things like that, it lacks integrity. And it definitely messes with your credibility when you have questionable company. So if you are more productive in beef than you are with maintaining peace, then I guess we have to look at you for what your purpose is. But this here is about empowerment. The code, the B1 code, is simply about empowerment of us. B1. It's real simple. And see, when we have people out here that look like this, doing stuff like this, we can't afford to be clout chasing. And most importantly, this is where we need focus on versus irrelevant immigrants who are not involved in politics. What you need to be concerned about are people like this who are.
That's me. And these are a bunch of other awesome candidates who have signed the Reparations Pledge Pact. This is a promise to Black Arizonans that we will stand with you and fight for reparations on a local level. Arizona and this entire country have a long history of disenfranchising and harming Black Arizonans, and it is past time to start taking meaningful action to repair that harm. That's why I'm proud to have taken this pledge, and I hope you'll join me in supporting other candidates who've done the same.
Woo! It's a rough one, ain't it? The mission and the task at hand. Can you dig it? So, I mean, I get I totally get that anybody or individuals would, we're all part of the B1 movement, which recently, has been clarified of some certain separations. So if anybody asks, what is going on Twitter under a hashtag is not the new black media. This here, you see us. You know all the big three. It's not new. This is not the first new black media appreciation month. So with that being said, to people who have been around all of these years, you kind of look weird doing stuff like that, because it's like, number one, that's again, that is people who have probably been used to being part of organizations. And you see one organization's door close, I guess you figure, well, hell, I'll open another. But understand what our focus is here. That is really, really, really getting at white supremacy. And I don't think everybody seems to understand that. Here are things that you should know. When you see stuff like this that I'm about to play, these are the things that should get your attention. Because, see, this is how you bring justice by reference to injustice. I don't know how I would do that to somebody who is another victim of global white supremacy. Now, see, that's a whole difference. See, over here with the new black media and the B1 who are on code over here about black empowerment, we are fully aware of the objective and who is against us and their objective. We would never spend an abundant amount of time focusing on other victims of white supremacy. They're just as powerless as you are. That's a crabs in the barrel conversation. The only thing is, it looks cool because you get a chance to scream and belittle people. But there is no empowerment in that. So let's move on.
Shows a man exposing himself to a salon full of women, then getting away without being arrested. What happened here? Travis Rice live for us in Long Beach with the story. Travis.
Alex, imagine their frustration. The police station is just 5 minutes down the road, and again, a salon full of gals left helpless, essentially, as some guy does something unsavory at the front door.
Shame! Shame on him! Shame!
It takes Peeping Tom to a new level. Video shows the moments a man menaces employees at a Long Beach hair salon while multitasking.
All of my coworkers were sitting here at the table, and we were just minding our business. Comes in, asks for a haircut, didn't quite get what he was trying to say, headed out, sat in our chairs right behind us.
Fiona McLaughlin says the man waited outside on one of their chairs for 10 minutes before doing anything.
And from there, the public indecency incident happened.
And public indecency being he just was...
like just fully publicly masturbating in front of the salon.
They called 911 right away.
We called the cops 10 minutes later, and he was still going. And we called the cops 10 minutes after that, and he had just departed. And the cops didn't show up for another 10 minutes.
And I'm so angry right now.
Moments after, Static Salon's hair owner, Rochelle Daniels, took to social media to vent about how her shop full of staff and clients had to deal with this.
When talking to the police today, we get it. These calls come in all the time. This isn't a big deal to them, but to these guys on that day, that was something nobody's ever seen before.
She and her employees understand the police have a lot on their plate, but their forte is extensions, not crisis management.
Like, you just want to go hide. Like, you don't want to deal with it because it's so gross and disgusting.
They're upgrading security measures, but hoping the response can arrive a little quicker next time.
And the fact that he was watching them and videotaping them watching him was like all part of the sick part of it, you know? So
yeah,
whatever I have to do to keep them safe, that's what we're going to do.
40 minutes, that's how long it took the police to arrive here, according to people inside the salon. We did reach out to Long Beach PD. They say more information will be made available about this case tomorrow. As for the salon owner, she says that when she posted the video to social media earlier over the weekend, she said several women reached out to her from a nail salon that said they saw the same man there earlier in the day peering into the salon. Alex?
I'll take it here, Travis. So disturbing.
Very disturbing. And also something that that my moderator posted on her Twitter earlier. I'll go back to something else. See, that's what I'm saying. Over here in this B1 space, we are fully aware of what we're up against. And so this is where our focus is, because we understand where the battle of empowerment is. If you don't, you can't say you a new black media or anything over here. I don't know what you're talking about. So here's another. So we're gonna, since you guys say we're gonna be the, well, maybe you should get you some education, and I'm gonna give you a quick one tonight. So here's something else that you will know. White supremacists also will target your children. This is actually from like 3 years ago. I did some digging on this. So this is from 3 years ago. And last I heard about this story, nobody really had no answer on what happened as far as I could see. The conclusion of the matter. But with that being said,
Kick! You want to kick? How you feel? You're kicking in your stomach. I'm gonna kick you in your nuts, and you ain't gonna be able to have kids. Go kick it! You want to kick? How you feel? You're kicking in your stomach. I'm gonna kick you in your nuts, and you ain't gonna be able to have kids.
yeah. See, we over here in the B1, we're not confused. And we understand the code. And by understanding the code, meaning that we just didn't wake up yesterday. And yeah, that dude just sat there and let it happen. And we have a lot of these individuals now. And here's the thing. When I tend to see a lot of people who kind of always move up under women, that's always a red flag for me. Because it's like, okay, well, that's not really what I'm looking for out of male leadership. So I don't look for you to be that. But when I see other people following individuals or dealing with individuals like that, all that tells me is you haven't had enough life experience to know better. So your judgment and your discernment stinks. And it shows. And, it's like, wow. Like, for my son, a lot of these cats in these spaces talking are the age of my son. Well, my son, when he was his first year in college, he's over there going to Professor Griff lectures. I mean, so I know what I've been doing. I mean, man, I hear all of this new talking point. It's crazy to me. And then well, hey, man, look, people have these tendencies to think something is like because people are paying attention to black folks' voices. I want to get that out of there. Yeah, pay attention to that. They believe it's some kind of movement that you can gain clout from. And let me tell you something, man. If anybody who knows me has ever been on my phone within the last, shoot, I'll say maybe 12 years, at least 12 years, has known that all of my phone calls are monitored. If you go look up my name, one of the things that'll come up besides my arrest record is that I'm on an FBI watch list. For what? Oh, for possibly having ties to extremist groups. So you guys really want to be over here like that? Well, all that capping y'all doing over there on that Twitter, I will tell you, boy, you sure giving them people a ton of information about y'all. Y'all going from morning to night on nothing but a recorded space. Y'all may not be recording y'all spaces, but they are. Your judgment stinks, and by no means could I ever see myself associated. That's, you know, here's the big thing. Y'all rooms are what they are. It gets bigger when you have a new black media personality like Tariq Nasheed come in there. That's what made you go viral, not yourselves. We all saw what was happening that day. When Tariq went in there, we came in here supporting the brother. So as y'all have seen, new black media moves as a unit. You'll see all these people in these spaces. But then when they're not in these spaces, new black media is not there. But y'all still are. See the two differences? Those are two different entities. So I'm just saying, you know, it's very clear. To us anyway. And everybody else paying attention. But to y'all who only talk amongst each other, I guess, all the damn time, it's making a lot of sense to you to do off the wall, nutty things like this. I say this humble as F. First off, you're talking to learned individuals, and that's your humble entrance of your statement. Jeez. I mean, man, when you do stuff like this, it gives people the impression that you probably just recently learned how to use napkins instead of using your shirt. I mean, and I say that like figuratively, you know, not like you're just some kind of messy. I'm saying that figuratively if you can comprehend what I'm saying. But who knows if that's the truth, because if you're that type of individual to even make that type of asinine statement, then, well, damn. I mean, I'm talking about people who haven't even listened to Jason Black, Professor Black Truth, or Tariq. You know what's recent of these people. And when I hear people only talk about YouTube, I know how new you are. That right there saying, it's like, well, damn. How long you been watching even Corey Holcomb? Then I would say, if you watch Corey Holcomb fans, how long y'all been watching him? Because all of these people were over on Ustream. Before you had to, that's why YouTube back in the day, man, it took YouTube forever to get the live streaming function, man. Don't you know? So yeah, being out here in this thing for a bit, you know, when you had to like do videos and then upload them, and then they'll still come and take the channel down because they don't like what you're talking about. So I mean, this is old school. And so, oh man, we gonna come to man. Like I say, you always can tell the sprinters versus the marathon men and women, because people who understand it's a marathon, you done put some time in, so your eyes aren't big like that. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah, as for me, you know, I just can't. I just got to make sure you understand the difference. You just got to know the difference. Oh. You know, one thing about I could never give any instruction um, on how to fraudulently be real. That's the problem over here. When you dealing in the truth, there's only one way you can be. And if people do not possess those abilities to be honest and truthful and have integrity, there's no blueprint you could give an individual like that they could even see through without putting themselves in the way. I guarantee it. Because that's what people with clout do. You know, I need clout. Look at me, look at me, look at me. You're starving for attention. You not starving for the mission or the people. That's clout. That's clout right there. Please look at me. Hold that. Because this ain't about being looked at. See here, okay, yeah. You know what? We finna get into the benefits of getting looked at. Okay. Right now, here's one of them. They got looked at. They got looked at for all the so-called right reasons and coming in to do the right thing for the black community, which in their minds was dismantling the nuclear family, which is what I have and a lot of us other individuals who are married in the B1 space. We have nuclear families. Their whole mission on the deaths of black children who came from nuclear families is screw 'em.
But you're also like folks that I literally call like when I'm having a joyful moment, but also when shit's going down. And I just want to ask y'all, like, it's gonna be
right, Samuel Logan,
since Freedom Summer, and a lot of shit went down. And how are you doing? Like, how are you feeling?
I feel good because
You know what's so funny about this is these women ought to be ashamed of themselves. And I guess for me, this is kind of why I take exception to anybody at this point trying to add themselves to the mix, because y'all wasn't here for this. This is their visit a year later, talking about this summer to where they were Johnny come lately too. Everybody because you knew what Black Lives Matter meant, they got out there and started hollering it. 4 days into the protest, these women finally brought their asses out. The reason why they didn't is because they knew they weren't the beginners or starters of this move. So they didn't know what to do because they were completely caught off guard. Hello, new black media. So, I mean, yeah, it's very disrespectful to be coming out here doing some silly mess like that. Like, no, these women made 90-something million bucks. And not only that, trust me, it wasn't no hashtag on Twitter that shut down the BNC. That was us. $30 million to combat. What do you think they doing? Who? Come on, man. I just don't understand what ego can do. That is insane to me. Here is an entity, a movement of just multiple voices all on one accord, and then you got this thing over here with not one voice that can be identified as anything. Because one person has to get put on the hook for what they say, all the rest of them gather around. There's no integrity with that. Can't fool with that. Now, if somebody want to own what you say and what you do, then that's different. Be my guest. But the one thing you can't do is go see, and I'm gonna tell you that's the sock dancer. That's the sock dancer move. When you start jacking people's names and jacking people's hashtags and doing all of that, oh yeah, that's the grimy sock dancer move. And then again, that tells me, damn, y'all over here really falling behind in this man's way of doing things, thinking that's kind of black empowerment. No. That's just grimy nigga shit. That's why I've aired it out. Shiesty niggas. And he got upset on that. And I know you're watching now because you're watching with all and follow me under all these other different accounts. And then you mismanage what you hear, taking it into these spaces. And then they looking at me like, well, who is you? We never heard of you before. That's funny. You hear me all the time coming out of his mouth. Wrong, but nonetheless, still hear me coming out of his mouth all the time. Ooh-wee. If only you knew. And look at these nuts. They over here toasting champagne. They was really celebrating in this mug, wasn't they? You know, they really, really feeling themselves. And let's be clear, $91 million. See, yeah, they was able to cake out, right? They was able to cake out, toast up and have champagne and do all of that. And then the IRS came a calling. And the piper's now about to get paid. Here's Demo Shields about to be broke. I'm going to tell you this to all of you COINTELPRO agents out there. This will be the same end for you. This movement ain't being stopped. And now and think of all the resistance that was going on in those California reparations meetings from old Cheryl Grills and Lisa Holder. All of that pushback and resistance that they were dared to do is the same type of agenda that these women were also sitting here to do. They out the paint. Time's up. Gone. Me too. Done. Who's next? This is a new thing. But see, the one reason why this works is because everyone and all the voices attached to it have maintained credibility. And credibility comes with tenure, time. Not, I came in, I just showed up 3 months ago, let me sit at your table. Hell to the no, I don't know you. And if you don't know me, then why would you ever want to be in an environment with a bunch of people to whom you don't know? And calling yourself by their names. How does that make sense? That's some false flagging shit. Damn y'all weird. What's going on, Nino? Oh, Samuel Logan, CNN Plus, gone. And The Root, they're taking donations. I don't think you guys are paying attention. I don't think y'all are really paying attention. These women are finna have to give some serious money back. They could have built something. You know what, with all of that Black Lives Matter money, why didn't they even just have like some kind of online course for black folks to say, this is how you interact with the police? Right? Give one of those tutorials. This is literally an organization that has no representation. Like, at least we see NAN, National Action Network. We see those people, right? Oh, they're singing We Shall Overcome like some idiots. Oh, my Lord. And in the meantime, though, let me show you this other part, family, because they could have donated to a troubled youth program, Louise. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And see, here's the thing, man. We are in a time where your character is going to be questioned. And that's just it. That's how you're vetted. So if somebody brings something out on you, and this is you, and this is how you're represented. See, here's the thing that men do, and I'm going to tell you like this, ladies, all around, whoever is playing and listening to this replay, if you are around a man, who can stand on his own and needs you to speak for him, then you are stronger than he is. Hope that sinks into someone. Because y'all be putting yourselves around these people. And I hear a lot of emotional energy in these spaces because it's a lot of arguing and no order. No order. It's like, keep me up. Because, see, I want to keep this all the way above board. And I don't want anybody to be offended like I'm talking shit. But it's like, I see a lot of emotional behavior. And some people are calling things a cult. It's like, well, I don't know what's worse, being called a hate group or a cult. I mean, at least with the hate group, we know what that's about. Being called a hate group, it's like, well, with the hate group, that's all about we cutting folks off from the reparations conversation. That ain't about nothing else. That's about the money. So let's keep it a buck. That's all about the dollar. It ain't about nothing else. Hey, you niggas, you're not going to share the reparations. I mean, you got CARICOM and some more. Now, what's really so cold about the CARICOM thing is y'all left out a couple of countries there. There's a couple islands down there that y'all left out. So don't come over here looking at us because we got nothing to do with that. And y'all was just like, nah, shit, screw them. Let's get ours on. Stop it. Nah, we good over here. This is going to be ours. And so I'm saying all this, and this is why I got this little thing planned right now. Because understand, you could get this by selling out your own people. That's what this is. This is not empowerment. But I see a lot of people want this type of attention. Well, you see the type of attention that the government is giving them right now? You're welcome to it. Yeah, hey man, don't let me stop you, bros. Have at it, man. But always remember though, you're not New Black Media. And because New Black Media stays up on stuff like this.
Show my baby in these handcuffs. These bitches got my baby in handcuffs
See, we make sure that the family is aware of stuff like this going on when things happen. And so, but...
We got dogs and shit on our kids. Don't do that shit to your motherfucking kids.
See, we understand who our enemy is. I don't see no immigrants out there. I see the race soldiers, and the race soldiers for the system of white supremacy out here.
Your mama got this, okay?
That's who we are up against. I know a lot of you are confused.
Do y'all do that shit to y'all kids where y'all live at? My baby got tears in his eyes. Y'all re-traumatizing our kids.
Out here terrorizing
Do
children.
that shit to y'all kids.
Let them out.
It's okay. My baby is fucking crying. Fuck y'all.
Man, we gatekeeping the culture, man. We gatekeeping the culture. We gatekeeping, man. You better gatekeep this right here, man. This is what Black empowerment is on. We are understanding what this issue is here. What the hell is wrong with people? I'm not finna sit up here and talk about some powerless individual and here me put immigrants in there. Why don't Africans feel this way and blah, blah, blah. Why do I care? I don't care how they feel. As long as I'm getting my reparations, they are irrelevant. And the only thing that matters is gatekeeping is done. We've already done that. FBA is closed. Speaking of gatekeeping, so, You got to deal with that. Now, this is something that needs attention.
But
Not
bogus
who we
as
can
fuck.
go
Don't
ahead and
have shit. No
insult.
fucking evidence. Goofy as fuck.
Exactly, they're just trying to make. That's okay. Y'all gonna have a lawsuit. I want your car, every last one of y'all cars.
No, this ain't the bag of chips.
Y'all put 12 years old and 15-year-old in fucking handcuffs. Like, I don't. That's. And they ain't no threat. What threat did they pose to y'all? I bet you y'all don't even live over here. And y'all come over here, y'all do this to our kids. I told you, we from Emmons Place. Of course they gonna do that shit to our kids. Because what they did to Michael. They're talking about something. Record this little boy. They can run their kids. They scared. Of course they gonna run. Let me see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your arms and stuff. You okay? Come on. Let me see. Ooh, little baby.
And I really shouldn't have to say where this is from. I mean, because y'all in the spaces of this happened in that person's city who y'all are with. So, I mean, you should know this has happened, right?
You all right? If y'all getting him out too?
He was too busy over there soling it.
Y'all have you call? Can you look at my wrist? You got my baby crying that shit. Are you okay? This is crazy.
Like, let Trayvon out. Trayvon's still in the car. Mom, Trayvon is still in the car.
How old are you?
12. He's in the car.
Well.
He's in there. No.
Doggone shame. These is middle schoolers, man. Middle schoolers. Yeah, this is the real agenda at hand, man.
Oh, this one. And we have another one in here.
Damn shame.
I'm filing a lawsuit on Ava. Watch this. I promise you that. Okay. Promise. Record him, girl. This is a baby, y'all. This is a baby.
Kid. Wow, look how small he is.
Son of a bitches. This is a baby. Record him. Look at this baby.
Look how little that boy is.
Hey, Santino, where's your mom at?
Don't worry about where the fuck his mama at.
I know that's right.
You weren't worried about that when you just put our child in a fucking handcuffs. You good? Come on. You taking him? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, boy.
Now, I just showed you a few different instances of situations that are actually what is a problem. That's a legitimate problem. Okay? I know it's hard to understand. But see, shout out to those sisters who were bold enough and spoke boldly, firmly, and proudly protecting and defending their children as they should, and also stepping up for other people's children. There are certain things we need to get back to, ladies and gentlemen, and getting back to this real protective, defensive energy of actual human beings is something we got to learn how to start doing again. Don't let it be that for you to figure that much out. You understand what I'm saying? So let's see what else we got here. You know, you said, let me breathe. I know that's right. That's why I'm just showing y'all this, because it's like y'all got to get a good understanding of something here. Let's see, where are we going next? So, Actually, let me do this first. There's something I have to do, and I hope that some of the family does not get offended, but we have to address it. But first, coming to a town near you.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I'll play that again if you just didn't catch that.
Yeah, crazy.
And if you don't know where that is, that's Las Vegas. That is the Rio Hotel, Las Vegas. Yeah, what's going on here? And this is just from last month. Where are those tanks going? Because we're not at war right now, right? Yeah. Man, telling you, man, some of y'all's judgment freaking stinks. But let me get these videos in here. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to loosen y'all up for this one. I'm going to loosen y'all up for this one. So we're going to take the quick interlude and be right back.
Living off borrowed time, the clock tick faster. That'll be the hour they knock the slick blaster. Dick dastardly, a Muttley with sick laughter. A gunfight and they come to cut the mix master. And living the true gods, giving y'all nothing but the lick like two broads. Got more lyrics than the church got ooh lords, and they hold the mic at your attention like two swords. Or you the one with two blades on it. Hey you, don't touch the mic like it's AIDS on it.
All right. Nino said they messing with your stream over there, Nino. You might want to hit refresh or somewhere, or go out and go back in. I'm not sure what kind of device you on right now. Looks like my stream is good, but you know how that go. They could be showing me one thing and showing you another. The way these YouTube streets been going. But with that being said, we have to address this little issue that I happened to catch. And, you know, I've had to play another questionable video from this individual. And I showed you when you saw the Hillary Clinton video I played before with this broadcast about her talking about voting Democrat down ballot. So we kind of have an idea where we're going here, don't we?
I would tell anyone that I am in favor of reparations, but reparations for me looks a lot like what Bernie Sanders defined. Reparations for me is massive investment in poor communities.
Okay, so let's hear that again.
Well, listen, I would tell anyone that I am in favor of reparations, but reparations for me looks a lot like what Bernie Sanders defined. That I am in favor of reparations, but reparations for me looks a lot like what Bernie Sanders defined. Reparations for me is massive investment in poor communities. And for me, the whole problem with Ta-Nehisi Coates and what he did to me was really intellectually bankrupt. Because what he's asking Black people to do is follow this kind of identity politics, this kind of Black identity politics, and everything has to be about us being Black people as opposed to everything being about us being poor people and disproportionately poor. And he wants us to follow down that road, which really is a road to nowhere. It leads to a goose egg. You know, the most interesting thing to me about what Ta-Nehisi Coates said in terms of how he defined reparations is that he never really defined reparations. And when you ask him about, hey, what does reparations look like and what is it supposed to be? He says, well, I don't have all the answers. Well, what you really don't have is an argument. You haven't defined reparations for yourself, but you're telling me that what Bernie Sanders has here doesn't go far enough. And I would ask, like he says, he said in a more recent piece, he says, Black people have more concentrated poverty. Black people are even more poor than white people, than white poor people. That's who we are. Well, that's true. But that really guts his case. Because if you really know how poor we are as Black people, then you know that, okay, cutting us a check ain't gonna get it. And what we need is real infrastructure and real investment from the government. Everything from healthcare, everything from free college education. I mean, when you look at Flint, Michigan right now, that's just perfect for me. You can't give Black people a check for Flint and say, okay, just deal with your stuff. This is something that's going to take massive investment from the government to fix. And so the real intellectually bankrupt part of Coates' argument is that he doesn't define an argument for himself other than say, you know what, Black people are really, really poor. And, socialism doesn't go far enough. This sort of socialism stuff doesn't go far enough. Well, that's really not good in terms of a salient argument, is it? By saying that this doesn't go far enough. It goes very far, and you haven't defined how it should go further. The only thing you've really said, and the only thing Ta-Nehisi Coates has said is, he says that this sort of socialist politics does not vanquish racism. Those were his words. Well, my response would be, nothing vanquishes racism. And we shouldn't be concerned with vanquishing racism. I'm not concerned whether or not the white guy across town loves.
So what you were just hearing was her, because they do so much talking about how they started this conversation and started that conversation. Tariq Nasheed stole this and Tariq Nasheed stole that. She just said she was in agreement with Bernie Sanders. That is a very much different position than foundational Black Americans. Oh, yeah, by the way, to which are the bulk of the reason that there is a lineage-based reparations conversation going on in the state of California, which those foundational Black Americans, and there were some ADOS people to show up and speak. And let's not forget, but the one person who was actually there, Mr. Sandy Darity, he was on the board, but you know who wasn't, who's a California resident? Tone wasn't there. Tone didn't participate. And I found it very interesting because people were like, man, you all should have had Tone on that panel. He's a resident of California. Why didn't he call in like everybody else? And if he called in, I guess I must have missed it. But I paid attention to quite a bit. So, I mean, maybe it was one of them brief times that I didn't catch that particular call. So maybe I missed it. But in the multiple things that I have watched, which I've sat up here and watched all of the public comment sections, and actually watched all of the whole proceedings, because, again, this is the first time that we're ever seeing a Black issue such as reparations being presented on record in a legal proceeding. So, I mean, this is interesting in itself to witness, manifest before our very eyes. Again, another reason why you have so many people trying to now find a way to muck up the reparations conversation. That's why it was so very important for the very first time that it happens. It ends up being based on lineage. So now when you have people coming in, because here's the different thing that a lot of people were saying, and by Black's Law Dictionary, that is true. The Black has no standing in law. It's Black is dead. However, California case law, when you start having case laws in states, that alters the situation greatly. So the Black's Law definition does not actually, they changed the definition in the state of California. So Black's Law definition is not the state of California's definition of Black nor African American. So, and another reason and a good reason why it is done in California based off of lineage, because in some of these other states, when it happens there, they already have a marker to go with versus trying to muck up the conversation. And now people are like, well, hey, man. And all of a sudden, we've heard forever, oh, you ain't going to get no reparations. You ain't going to get no reparations. You ain't going to get no reparations. They have a historic thing. Everybody, well, hey, man, just based on lineage is, no. But nonetheless, that was what Yvette Carnell was saying. So, I mean, we have to listen to what she was saying. She was all for the Bernie Sanders plan of reparations, which she's downplaying cash payments. Now, here's the other part, though. This is the day of Donald J. Trump's election victory. Let's see how she responded.
Family, it's Yvette Carnell coming to you. I'm not going to stay long, but I promised I would come and talk about Donald Trump's inauguration speech. And it was concise, it was quick. And there are a couple of things that I can say about that speech. But first, let me. The reason I didn't come on sooner, though, I had to watch the Obamas leave. So I was not going to come on until I saw them get in that helicopter. So I got to make sure they get in that helicopter. So anyway, I also promised you guys that I was going to have a toast. So to the end of an era, as I was discussing with a friend this morning how happy I am not to have to see, Jay-Z and all those people there so they can confuse black people and we could be like Jigga in the building and all that stuff. White people said they were going to take their country back. Looks like they might have.
She was happy, wasn't she? She was Silent D. Said, bruh, you confused yourself. Oh, Lord. See, and here's the thing. Maintaining credibility. Y'all understanding the importance of maintaining? That means over a stretch of time. Not just, oh, I showed up 3 months ago. I'm just like them who been here for over a decade. Yeah, look at me the same. I mean, I know you don't know me, but trust me. No, don't work that way, G. And besides, no, no. How about just no? And let's just look at that. Because, I'm going to tell you like this. I am not trying to hear nothing about no woman my age or better acting like this. See, that's the difference. Over here, that when this is the representation, that don't bother them. That's what they want y'all to do. So when y'all doing all that back and forth bickering, oh yeah, because that to them, that's how you look. Now, when they come over here to this new Black media scholarship conversation, and how this truth hits different. Oh, this is the reaction and response we get.
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us.
But I'm telling you, there's some kind of energy. I just can't really put my finger on it. I'm listening to some of these cats' voices. It's like, man, there is something there that, I mean, and if that's your flow, then, I mean, but there was one dude that got touched last night on the Brother Afro Elite's space that, I just said, hey, man, they was kind of razzing him about his sexuality. Not to say, oh, man, he a little bothered because, his girlfriend's listening. And then all of a sudden in the background, I just heard,
I'm not gay no more. 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 I am delivered. I'm delivered. I don't like men no more. I said I like women. I said I like women. Women. I will love a woman.
I'm just saying, you want to be in a position of, I don't know, because to me, it looks like a bunch of dudes are this in reverse. And I see the women as the dude standing in there. And that's how y'all looking right now. I mean, you could be a talking pup. I mean, to real people who have lived some life, some things are transparent like an old projector sheet. If you're old enough to even know what I'm talking about. And if you ain't, we ain't got no business arguing anyway. As transparent as a projector sheet. Oh, can you dig it? So yeah, like I said, man, we are on our P's and Q's over here. And when we gatekeep against stuff like this.
Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
And then also make moves like this.
First in the nation reparations task force has now arrived at the point of determining exactly how black residents in California have been harmed by the institution and the legacy of slavery. The first two public hearings were held this week. Organizers say the discussion is a way for community members to talk about the idea and for the task force to get an idea of what action people want to see. The task force will continue to hold meetings which are open to the public via live stream, and they will meet again next week to hear from panelists on racism in education and to hear from economic consultants about what a state-specific reparations model might look like. Now, the task force does not have final say on reparations. That would be up to the legislature, but the task force is tasked with preparing a proposal by June of 2023 that would have to go before California lawmakers.
See how now they're already, the conversation that they're putting in the mix about who gets it and who doesn't, the eligibility thing, it now all of a sudden it's a factor. Because see, those people were supposed to sabotage the Lisa Holders and the Cheryl Grills. They were, man, specifically there to sabotage it. And I mean, come on, Don Tamaki. What the hell is he even doing on the panel? He's from Japan. This is about slavery. You got a whole Japanese man up here talking about, hey, what's wrong with you? Oh, man, I guess you got to play the game in the best way you can, man. But damn. Jeez. And then also, I meant to play this a while back because this is something else y'all got to check out. Because then we start getting all this off-brand stuff and off-code madness around me. Turn the sound off of this. And people just let stuff like this go on. Jubilee. Look at it. Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks was also against reparations, if you didn't know. Why would a black feminist be against reparations? You got to ask yourself that. Oh, I'll tell you why. Because, we always say here on this broadcast that the father of black feminism is the CIA, and the mother is Gloria Steinem. In any event, you don't have a black father or a black mother, but yet you label yourselves as black feminists. Now, I think to this regard, Black's Law Dictionary, that meaning of black absolutely applies. Also, I would say it applies in like the Congressional Black Caucus. That's very fitting. Because see, now we could start looking at it like that. Let's go with that. We need a foundational Black American caucus. Foundational Black America, by standard of the state of California, means lineage. Whoops. Oh boy, I don't know if a lot of people caught that, but yeah, that's actually what that means now. Go figure. So, with that being said, you guys are indigenous, blah, blah, blah. Hey, man, it's a lineage. This is what it is. You can call us what you want, but just call us when the checks are getting cut. Because we won't be calling you. You understand? Unless it's time for you to invest in a new joint capital venture with the foundational Black Americans who just have acquired capital. I think that might also be one of the biggest dilemmas in these people's world is foundational Black Americans actually understanding at this moment how to utilize reparations. Before, guaranteed Cadillac ain't getting the bulk of this money. Shoot, these guys gonna be building their own cars. You put some money in some of these cats' hand. And that's what they fear. Because that gives capital to all of those talented individuals who have to go slave their whole careers working for some company that don't respect them. Then there's a whole industry that can be started right there. So understand, they understand the full scope and the long game of the cost of reparations. It's true equality. And yes, it destroys oppression. It's what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to be repairing the oppressed, not trying to find the best way to keep them oppressed, but make them feel like they're not, which is what's been happening all these years. But this generation has rolled around and we know better. No more of that. And just to prove you that we know better, well, we're going to show you right now how much better we know. Because the one thing we have to take from all of our ancestors and pioneers and icons, we have to understand their wins, but we also have to understand the losses. So let's understand the win of, and here's what a lot of these youngsters don't know. The win of the civil rights era, which, of course, there were some rights, some things done by JFK, but the actual civil rights bill did not come into being signed into fruition until the assassination of JFK and signed into law by his predecessor. So what you're not understanding is everybody who was even, and it's not like they wanted to entertain freedom or some kind of equality for black folks. It was absolutely a political move, but it was being done nonetheless. With that being said, JFK, the first one assassinated, Malcolm X, the second one assassinated, Martin Luther King, rounding out the trifecta in the holy trinity of the civil rights leadership outside of Medgar Evers. And then they got him slipping in his driveway. All of these voices got absolutely slain. And that's saying that Mr. Bill Cosby has lived his personal life as a saint forever. No one's perfect. I do believe fully that he was lied on and that case was absolute crap, and that he should be enjoying his freedom like he is right now, telling that prosecutor, kiss my ass, as he should. But look how they did to him. He put in front of the world the idea of black family throughout generations. So what you saw on the Cosby Show was Cosby and his wife, his parents, and then his children getting married. 3 generations of black marriage and family furtherance. All the while you seen Theo growing up into responsible manhood. They don't want people seeing stuff like that because they'll show that to their kids all day long. But when it comes to ours, oh, hell to the no. So understand, this type of spiritual deprivation that these people love to have on us, that's why you got so many of these youngsters on demon time right now. There is no more joy left for them children. They've chosen and totally crossed over. So a lot of them are done for. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. I would never waste my time saving nobody who's on demon time. If you want to get up out of that, you are more than welcome to. Because no, it ain't never too late. Moses was even a murderer. I mean, so it is what it is. But if you want to be reprobate, then that's a whole nother situation. You're going to have to work that out on your own end. So with that being said, for all the clout chasers out there that think this is sweet and you will have a great to do in this world by, hey man, I'm this, I'm that, I'm black, look at me. Well, let's just take a flashback of reality.
King, many have said that you helped put President Kennedy in the White House. In light of what has happened, do you regret that?
Well, I'm not at all a political analyst, but there are those who contend that the Negro vote had a great deal to do with President Kennedy being elected, and that many Negroes were influenced to vote for the president because of a call that he made to my wife during an arrest here in Georgia. Now, if this had anything to do with it, I certainly don't regret it, because I think President Kennedy made a most significant contribution in civil rights. And while he may not have done all that some feel that he should have done, I would be the first to say that President Kennedy came forth with the most comprehensive civil rights bill that we have ever had from any president. And he had a great understanding of the depths and dimensions of the problem. And I really feel that he was a friend to the cause of civil rights. And he created a climate of civil rights concern in Washington and in the nation.
You have had attempts made on your life and have been threatened perhaps even tonight. What is it like to walk under this constant threat?
Well, it's often difficult, but when you live with it so long, you almost become immune to being afraid as a result of these threats. I guess you have to come to the point of looking at these things philosophically, and this is where I have decided to stand. I believe firmly that this cause is right, and that someone must have the courage and the fortitude to stand up for it, even if it means suffering or even if it means death. I've always felt that unmerited suffering is redemptive, and even if I have to die for this cause, if physical death is a price that others will have to pay, then it is a price that is paid to free the soul of our nation and to free our children from a permanent spiritual death. And in this sense, I think it is very redemptive, or it can be, even if it occurs.
Thank you, Dr. King.
So in the midst of what he was doing, he was still getting death threats all the time. Still trucking right on along, though. Didn't quit. Wasn't busy going on public forums, lashing out emotionally. Because that's what leadership looks like. A passion for the people. Are you about a cause, or are you about clout? That's for you to determine. Over here, this is about a cause. Hands down. And I understand a lot of people have and can take issue with when you're called out, but this is the point. No one's beyond reproach. And when you have disrespectful entities who are off code in your midst and you do nothing, well, then you are just as responsible for it as they are themselves. Remember, you guys want to call yourselves something that even resembles leadership. Well, you have to do that part. Can't just sit up here and shout your troubles away. You actually got to sit up there and intentionally address someone. If you can't do that, everybody will just start writing you off. You got to be able to listen to a person's discourse to you. But instead, what you'll do is mute them. And then make a narrative. I was raised around men and I was raised around women. That's not something that the men I was raised around would ever be caught doing. I'll just put it like that. So I understand we have a lot of emotional damage out here, and we have emotionally damaged men out here. And we have a lot of men looking for mother figures out here on these internet streets. But when you are now a man, you need to be a man for a woman and be that protector for a woman if that's the lane you're choosing to be in. You can't be out here looking for a mother on the internet. You understand? You know, and that's just the point. So we're going to get into quite a bit here because there was also another issue about people not understanding B1 and convoluting messages. Because again, when you're new and haven't actually been following these people, you take bits and pieces of what you think you know and then make up a philosophy and fake it till you make it. Well, we don't do that around here. We actually come, because, I hear oftentimes receipts, receipts, receipts. Then somebody drops a receipt on you, go, oh man, that's wrong. Sounding like something that starts with an H. Oh, hypocrite. That's the word I was looking for.
I guess we could start with 1956 for our generation. This was the beginning of the rise of Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King decided that in Montgomery, Alabama, black people had to pay the same prices on the buses as did white people, but we had to sit in the back. And we could only sit in the back if every available seat was taken by a white person. If a white person was standing, a black person could not sit. So Dr. King and his associates got together and said, "This is inhuman. We will boycott your bus system." Now understand what a boycott is. A boycott is a passive act. It is the most passive political act that anyone can commit, a boycott. Because what the boycott was doing was simply saying, we will not ride your buses. No sort of antagonism. He was not even verbally violent. He was peaceful. Dr. King's policy was that nonviolence would achieve the gains for black people in the United States. His major assumption was that if you are nonviolent, if you suffer, your opponent will see your suffering and will be moved to change his heart. That's very good. He only made one fallacious assumption. In order for nonviolence to work, your opponent must have a conscience. The United States has none.
1967. 67. And we have people who have not even done their own homework to know these different things of our own history to which we're fighting for today. We're not fighting for clout. It's about a cause. Because we have already been affected. I mean, we've been affected so much to where you could formulate in your mind that a Twitter space is literally a media apparatus. It's a chat line. Like, it's almost like what would have happened if Clubhouse would have been able to have their stuff uploaded and recorded like this? Would this have been what Clubhouse? Who knows? All I know is when they do really actually start deciding to make money off of those spaces, y'all will be long gone. Name of the game, family. The name of the game. So let me see. Where's this at? Where we at? So let me play a little bit more of Brother Stokely. Because, see, for those of you who don't know, there is a B1 brother whose parents were immigrants. Did you know that? I mean, I know we like to get particular about gatekeeping, you feel me? I'm just saying.
On April 12, 1967, at Tugaloo College on the outskirts of Jackson, Mississippi, Stokely Carmichael, who popularized the term Black Power, lashed out against the war in Vietnam.
Popularized the term Black Power. And now here we are using Black First. Can you understand what being on code is? Black empowerment. See, when we got you newbies coming out here talking crazy, you sound nuts. Because you don't even know who some of the people that you're even referring to using their talking points are these people to whom are not foundational Black Americans, but nonetheless understood the plight of the Black American and the descendants of slaves. That's being on global code. Now, those of us in the specific mini diaspora of foundational Black Americans, we are within the B1 space, and we have a specific claim that no one else in the B1 space actually has claim to. But it seems like a lot of y'all have a big problem with comprehension. That also says you do not have a long, extensive time in business. Because that way you would understand how different entities and streams work. But instead, no, you guys are so busy looking for the next Jesus. And out of the mouth of fools, I guess, will come more foolishness. And then you actually start claiming it. And if you are just now tuning in to this broadcast to understand what I'm talking about when I say foolishness, I mean this. I mean this type of foolishness right here. You understand me? And it's like, anybody that is off code is off code. So you could be a foundational Black American, can be off code. You can be a non-foundational Black American and be off code or on code. What we're saying is we will rock who rocks with us. So going back to the point, the code is the leader. And I would at least need somebody who's going to say they're going to represent Black media, new Black media, to at least be able to articulate what the code is when asked. All them spaces and no one on code, on code, on code, on code. Okay, you're one of the founders or leaders or main voices of this thing here. What's the code? Well, I mean, we got a different code. Okay, well, let's establish we got a different code. And I guess, see, here's the difference. Like I said, the response that they will get from that code, they're not fearful of that because that won't bother them because it holds no power. But when it comes down to actually dealing with the truth, this is how they view us.
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us.
I'm just saying. And last night was a great space. I'm sure Afro Elite, he held him and Nino Black and, again, non-FBA brother Rich, who is of Haitian descent, but like I said, B1 and been in them spaces. He even mentioned in one of the spaces to how he was quiet as a co-host for the whole space because he knew he didn't have anything, no right to really be having an opinion in that conversation or in that lane. That's respect. That is order. And so shout out, I'm sure, a few wounds needed to be licked. And shout out to Nino Black because this one's for you.
Teach your man how to squabble. Get that trigger next time, nigga.
So you got people over there licking his wounds, boy. Lord. The sock dancer blues are real, ain't they? Let's hear more, though, of what we're supposed to be focused on. Because, see, Black empowerment, it does definitely require integrity. And so when your integrity is exposed for being whatever it really is, and it's not as together as one would think, I'm not going to necessarily look to judge you, but what I will do is pay very heavy attention to those who do not have discernment to kind of move this way or that way away from you. And most importantly, I could tell when I'm hearing your influence coming out of them. It's like, woo, you got the blind leading the blind. The blind leading the blind. And unfortunately, when the truth hits, even your excuse for not showing your face. You know, we need honesty and integrity, and we will maintain credibility with honesty, not clout chasing and lying.
This speech followed just days after an appearance at Nashville, which prompted riots by students at Fisk and Tennessee A&I universities. 3 days after Tougaloo, Carmichael participated in mass rallies of anti-war supporters in New York and San Francisco. Born in Trinidad on July 29, 1941, Carmichael became an American citizen when his parents came to the U.S. and were naturalized. He was still in college in 1960 when the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, was formed. It was SNCC which organized the sit-ins in the South. In 1966, as its leader, Carmichael spent the year transforming the organization toward the concerns of black college students. This speech, given to about 700 students, illustrates the clear division between traditional nonviolent civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King and the more militant leaders coming on the scene. Here the viewer can see Carmichael define America's racial problems. Note particularly his concern with semantics and his use of antithesis to contrast the black and white perspective. Also noteworthy, of course, is his ability to excite and motivate his audience. At one point, he leads the audience in a chant, which, though abbreviated on this tape, lasted 10 minutes. In all, the viewer can witness an example of confrontational rhetoric from the 60s.
Confrontational rhetoric. This brother is over here talking about police brutality and economic deprivation. He talking about rhetoric. See, this is how. Okay, like y'all want to clout or cause, because this is the cost of the cause. You got people labeling you any kind of way. That's why when somebody tells you that you're putting a target on their back, instead of being offended, take a listen to it, because maybe somebody got a little more insight on how things work than you do, considering how you're only 3 months old. I don't understand this.
Illustrated by the fiery Stokely Carmichael.
I'm trying to figure out which one belongs to the CIA. Nick, it was once one of the only places we could run to for safety when we started to work in Mississippi in 1961 and 62. So that it's sort of like coming home when we come back to Tougaloo. Now I want you to, before I begin, to take a look at all of the pressmen before you. You will notice that not one of them are black. And they are going to have the nerve tomorrow to call me a racist. Are you hearing? But we understand how the honkies are. They don't recognize their own racism. I understand that I'm following the great white father, Bobby Kennedy. I understand last night he told you a couple of things. Now I want to put some of them in perspective for you. When he said the world belongs to you, that comes from a great black man by the name of Frederick Douglass. He said the world belongs to the youth.
Take note of that. So here is one of our now passed on elders and great orators and activists of our time, author as well. Look at what he's saying. I mean, I hope y'all are getting this. He's looking at his past and the scholars of his previous generation. You see how this works? None of them are coming out giving full credit to themselves. They're all giving credit to the ones who came before them. That's proper etiquette of activism, if you didn't know. Because I know y'all think that, oh, well, this is clout. No, 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 no. New Black Media is activism. That part might have missed you because you just were so overly enamored with the attention that you saw people getting. But that attention comes with a cost because this is activism, not entertainment. So if you want clout, then get your clout. But do not ever confuse your clout chasing with empowerment or activism. Yes, you can go talk loud and scream, but can you stand on your own and stand on what you say? Can you own your mistakes? Because see, when you on a platform, oh, there's no one else coming to my rescue, so I got to own what I say, don't I? When you say you're a New Black Media, you have to meet that requirement. And I don't see any of you doing that. So we'll move on.
Secondly, I understand that Bobby urged us to stand up and speak out against injustice. Well, we could tell him that we don't need anybody to tell us to stand up anymore. Not only are we going to stand up, we're going to right the wrongs of our people in this generation. Has the memories of the unpunished murders of Shwerney, Goodney, and of Medgar Evers. There are going to be no more unpunished murders.
Are y'all hearing what the order of the day was then that the order of the day still is now? Guess what we're not talking about? Guess what other groups we're not focused on? Other groups that are also victims of the system of white supremacy. Hope you guys are learning something tonight.
They've been telling you that the kids in Nashville started a riot. Number one, you ought to recognize it is not a riot, it is a rebellion. A rebellion. And number two, you ought to be proud of your black brothers and sisters at Fifth because a honky cop touched one of them and they told him you got to touch all of us.
Yeah, we don't do the armchair revolutionary talk. You can talk loud and this and that, but the one thing you can't seem to do is think. See, movements need thinkers. Everybody could talk. Who around you can think? And then who around you thinks righteously? Because you might be around a thinker. But do they think righteously? Excuse me. And, you know, the brother said earlier, I seen in the chat that he's surprised that I didn't play that twerk video. I don't really know that lady. Like, I don't know her like that. So I don't necessarily have any kind of issue with her. Like I said, I see the companies that she keeps. And I noticed that most of these individuals that are up under her are all the unlearned loud ones. But I spent a little bit of time in there and I said, okay, I think I kind of got a vibe for what I see. And for the shock dancer, we already know he can't do nothing without a woman telling him what to do. So, I mean, that's to be expected. Funny thing is he'd actually have the nerve to tell them that's me. For those of y'all who know me, that is hilarious, ain't it? Oh man. It's like, see, and that's the whole thing. He know me better than that. So then to go just blatantly lie on me like that, I can't respect none of y'all. Cause he know me better than that. But I mean, I guess if you in a situation where you feeling very comfortable to talk freely, or how you would not talk to me in my face, or even remotely close in my vicinity. But I guess things like that make people feel comfortable. I get it. People, what they say, cowards feel comfortable in crowds. Guess so. Yep. So let's look at this part. So we're going to look at how the negative side of the game of activism plays in, and understand how you have no friends living and you have no friends dying. What you have is your cause. Do you care enough about your cause to live and die by it? Guess what? I didn't say how many views you could get, how much money you could make. I said, is your cause important to you enough for you to live and die by it? If it's not, stay your ass on the porch.
The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, 39 years old and a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and the leader of the nonviolent civil rights movement in the United States, was assassinated in Memphis tonight. A sniper's bullet cut down Dr. King as he stood on a hotel balcony in Memphis. Within an hour, Dr. King was dead. That happened at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The nation was shocked. President Johnson expressed horror and then postponed his trip to Hawaii until tomorrow. We're going to go to Memphis now and talk to ABC's Tom Gerald, who is on the scene.
Here in Memphis, of course, a great deal of shock, a great deal of confusion, and a great deal of some violence. I can't say a great deal because I don't really know. I do know that police are very concerned, that the fire department is moving units around the streets, and that there is some rock throwing and some fires reported and some shooting. The full extent of at this time from this vantage point can't be assessed. The full curfew has been imposed on the streets of Memphis. Everyone except emergency vehicles are being cleared from the streets. The National Guard, which had been on duty here up until late last night, they have been recalled to duty and are being put on the streets of Memphis right away. Of course, a great deal of confusion and chaos resulting from the announcement here that Dr. King had died. It was a very great shock for something like this to happen. The shooting occurred at the Lorraine Motel. It was a favorite place for civil rights leaders and for Negro businessmen to stay here in Memphis. I believe we have some film now, Bob, if we can take a look at that. This is where the shooting occurred tonight, where Dr. King was killed. The Lorraine Motel is a favorite place for Negro leaders to stay while in.
Notice how they keep talking about how it's a favorite space to stay for Negro leaders. Here's the funny thing about that. If you guys were watching my very last broadcast, one of the things that was mentioned in that was that Dr. King was actually at another hotel. He was at a white-owned hotel. Somebody, they suspect the FBI, leaked it to the news. And so the news and the people were getting at him. That's why he ended up at the Lorraine Hotel or Motel. So he wasn't even supposed to be there. But they set him up to be there to be assassinated. So I'm just saying, all you little clout chasers, I hope you know what you want. Because guess what? Oh, I'm sure he didn't think it would be him until it was. That's the life you choose when you really want to be an activist, player.
Memphis. It's a very nice new modern motel. He was on this second floor balcony, standing exactly where these two officers are, talking with some of his aides at the time of the shooting. The scene immediately became confused. Officers ran forward and attempted to secure the area. The shot apparently came from an apartment building directly across the street. The members of Dr. King's staff were there discussing a mass rally which was planned for tonight. They said that suddenly there was a sound that sounded faintly like a firecracker or something, and
he was talking about
then he was
the
shot.
musical program for tonight's mass rally,
Yeah.
and he had asked you to play a special tune.
Yes, yeah.
Did he say anything after he was shot? Could you tell how seriously he was wounded?
He just said, "Oh," and it knocked him back, off his feet.
After that, was anything said at all?
Nothing but "oh," and we yelled, and Reverend Jackson, he yelled back to Dr. King. We all hollered. Everybody hollered after the shooting, I was standing kind of sideways. I really didn't have my back to where the shot came from. And when I turned all the way around, we saw the sheriff or the police up on the hill up there.
That was the musical director for Dr. King's group, Ben Branch. He was standing alongside Dr. King when the shot came that killed Dr. King. In fact, Dr. King was discussing tonight's musical program with Ben Branch at the very moment when the shot was fired. The shot, as I say, apparently came from an apartment building which had a number of floors and overlooked the motel. It was a very clear shot to the place where Dr. King was standing on the balcony discussing the situation with his aides. The police here in Memphis immediately issued a bulletin for a young white man dressed in dark clothes who dashed out of that building across the street. He dropped a Browning automatic rifle, which was fitted with a scope, on the sidewalk, and then he fled. We don't have any late information from police headquarters here in Memphis because communications channels at the moment are completely clogged with emergency calls. We don't know if anyone has been apprehended, although we understand that some suspects may be being questioned at police headquarters. So the situation here in Memphis is that a complete shock. The community is in a state of confusion at the moment. Telephone lines, except for emergency calls, are not being handled. Emergency calls only are being handled. And the curfew, which has been reimposed, is a full curfew, everyone off the streets except emergency vehicles. And the National Guard has been called back out in an effort to maintain law and order. This is Tom Jarrell in Memphis. Now back to Bob Young in New York.
Thank you, Tom. Joining me here in New York is Peter Jennings, who's been on the road around the country, has seen some of the civil rights happenings, and has met Dr. King, and as I have. Peter, do you have any immediate thoughts about what this assassination, what the reactions may be around the country to it? I know this is highly speculative, but it's...
I suppose the first concern, Bob, that everybody has, and it's obviously the one that Governor Buford Ellington has, and the people of Memphis have, and the people of Harlem have, and other major Negro areas in the cities around the country, is the outbreak of violence. I was sitting with a friend of mine tonight who's been very involved in thinking and believing in civil rights, and asked what his reaction was, and would there be violence? And he said no, he didn't think so, that King had created such a spirit, that this would not create a mass kind of violence like Malcolm X did.
I think it bodes some waiting. Unfortunately, in New York's Harlem, it's raining tonight. Weather has a great deal to do with violence, as I'm sure that both you and I know, both in this country as indeed it does in some of the Latin countries, which...
No, sir. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and this place was on international news for 100 and something day protests right here in the city. To where if anybody tells you anything about Portland, one of the first things they'll tell you, especially if you're coming here for work, one of the first things they're going to tell you about Portland is it rains a lot. So rain gonna stop all the violence. I mean, we know rain gonna cut down the protests. Ain't you bitching? No, it ain't. No, they coming out in full force, partner. So I'm just curious of how they responding and reporting this, Because truth be told, there was a ton of stuff on fire at the moment. So they over here reporting it, I think probably to not give the protest, they were riots, no momentum and energy. So they're over here doing this somber ass reporting. Man, there was cops catching hell up out here at this moment. Once they killed King, like I said, King was the trifecta. So you have Malcolm X, and then you couldn't even get a whole year before they got King about the paint. All them niggas went crazy, man. Don't let them sell you on that bullshit. No, them niggas went nuts. So, yeah, but look at the way Harlem is kind of cool. They turned all the way up on Harlem. Matter of fact, I believe there is I need to refresh my memory on that one, but I believe there was a cop killed up in Harlem. So I don't know what the hell they talking about.
We have both served. You know, as Bob knows, there's a great radio station in New York here, WBAI are the call letters, I think, which is essentially a Harlem-oriented radio station. And on past occasions when things have got, touchy in that particular area, WBAI has done a great deal to keep the community knit together and calm down. I was trying to get them on the radio tonight and find out if they were keeping things.
Did you catch that part? Keeping things calm. So you went to your local radio station. That was at the moment, your local Negro whisperer. Louise said they're so fake. Yeah, so he's over there trying to find out. Funny. He has ties to call a radio station in Harlem just like that to get him on the news. In Harlem, in the 60s, the late 60s, Harlem. Within a few months, the parliaments were finna come out. Like, this is how old we talking about. Funkadelic wasn't even a band yet. You understand? Oh, man. Man, y'all getting a lesson of 60 years, 70-year long propaganda tools. And they still do this today in the media now. So if you call yourself New Black Media, you should be abreast of things like this and the tactics that are out there against you.
Cool.
Okay, so there's more. So, and that's why I put those two comments on the screen, because they had made mention to none other than Jesse Jackson.
This direction.
Let's hear him live.
He was standing at an acute angle, and the bullet knocked him up off of his feet in that direction against that ledge over there.
Okay, now y'all already seen one of those messages in the chat said Jesse Jackson did not show up until later that night. But, I mean, hey, man, we going to continue.
And it knocked him off of his feet. Yeah. And we turned around immediately because we didn't know how many bullets were coming. But we turned around looking, and we were looking to see where it come from because you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell it was a shot.
You didn't hear a shot?
No, until it hit his face. It sounded like a stick of dynamite or a large firecracker. And when we turned, all we could see was police coming. Police were coming from the direction of the shot.
You hear a shot and you turn towards the direction of the shot and all you see is police coming? Did you guys catch that? I'll rewind that a bit. And you know what? I just remembered something. The picture of the shooting, Jesse Jackson actually is there. Jesse Jackson's right there. Jesse Jackson is there. He's in the picture. And when they're pointing, he's in that picture. Now, let's hear what he just said again about them damn police. Because if you're, he said he didn't hear it until the shot hit Dr. King's head, right? and then you looked where the shot came from, and all you seen was police. Okay.
You didn't hear a shot? No, until it hit his face. It sounded like a stick of dynamite or a large firecracker. And when we turned, all we could see was police coming. Police were coming from the direction of the shot. I said, Dr. King. That was it. I said, Dr. King, just as he straightened up. I said, Dr. King, and the bullet exploded in his face. And evidently it came from...
The bullet exploded in his face, but he was already hit with the bullet. Now, what average assassin got some kind of shit like that can do that? There ain't one. Oh, well, what are they call them something because they don't technically work for the government. But I'm gonna tell you, you can't get that type of ammo from no thrift store or no gun store. You ain't buying that in no gun store. That is strictly government issue. Funny how we haven't heard more about this exploding bullet though, huh? Have anybody of you ever heard about that exploding bullet before? Yeah. Dr. King, bam, and it just blows up in his head. Like, he's already hit with the bullet. Bam. So you see in his head bleeding, so you know he hit. Dr. King, bam, then it blow up in his head. Come on now. Come on now. There ain't no just random angry white man that got exploding bullets. You ain't finna just tell me that. I ain't going for that. So let's just see the effects of the people. Giving y'all a little bit of education.
Should have respected a long time ago.
Desmond Works, what's going on?
It's going to make it bad for the racial problems all over the United States now.
I was very shocked when I heard the news that Martin Luther King had been wounded and then when he died. And it makes me wonder just what kind of a world we are living in and what's going to happen now.
Martin Luther King tried to help the Negroes and the white from not having violence or any kind of eruptions. I think that they shouldn't assassinate him, so I think...
I heard it last night on TV, but I didn't give it very much of a thought.
The death of Mr. King was a serious setback in the progress of civil rights in the nation.
Terrible that he died, and I do believe that he was a wonderful man, and he would have helped a lot in keeping the peace instead of all the riots and everything that have been going on.
It's a shame that a man has to forfeit his life for his cause. I mean, we got men on a battlefield that do that, and I said...
And I certainly hope that there will be someone else to carry the banner in the road to peace without violence.
And I think it's senseless, and as far as I can see, there's no meaning to it. There is a question of mine, though. I'd like to know who's going to take over his program now that he is gone. The thing that he advocated against was the thing that destroyed him.
No. So, okay. We have that. And there is one more I'm going to play of the reactions because I want y'all to to take this in. These are the reactions of that assassination. And now you already heard Jesse Jackson's suspect, questionable recollection of it, which is something that he never seems to mention again about the exploding bullet. But I mean, hey, it's neither here nor there, right?
A couple of questions.
Well, it all depends on the question.
Can you tell me what effect Martin Luther King's death has had on you?
It hasn't had any on me personally. I don't know. I think that the way everything is turning out, that they're bending over backwards to idolize him, and I think that he was a very fine man.
Boy, oh boy, they don't teach their children no kind of manners, huh? But now you notice her cold demeanor too as well. So she got this little brat back here in the back seat that is got a whole adult conversation going on in front of them, and just want to be, look at me, right? No boundaries. Early. Also, this is the mother and the cold-hearted nature of a suspected white supremacist. I'll say suspected white supremacist female and mother. So she's the nurturer to that little kid in the back seat. Now listen to her feelings about someone who was moving in a way to get empowerment and equality for black folk. And she said they're bending over backwards. She's going to say it a couple times, matter of fact. So, just try to bear with this little brat in the back seat. And so, hear her cold demeanor.
Has it affected your decision? Hang on a sec, sweetheart. Has it affected your feelings about Negroes in general?
Well, I always have had a good feeling about them, so I mean, I don't know whether I speak, for myself personally. I really don't feel any way prejudiced.
Now, she said, I've always had a good feeling about Negroes, but I really don't feel any way. Just right there, the double talk. Absolute brat. I was going to say cave brat, but that wouldn't be right.
Or anything about them. I think perhaps his death may have been it may work in the reverse, and that people will treat him as a martyr, and maybe bend over backwards to make everything better for the Negro.
That was a concern of hers. So she's concerned that that the government will look to make conditions better for the Negro. That is a concern of hers. See, I know a lot of you little youngsters have not understood the actual business of empowerment because you didn't understand the situation fully in the full scale of the scenario. See, this is about learning. And you have to know what you're doing. You got a bunch of checker players claiming to be chess players. And that's not going to cut it, because these people out here eat your ass alive. No question, hands down. So I mean, and again, if somebody try to give you some advice that's been around and been in this empowerment game for a minute, you might want to take a good ear. People try to send subtle messages. Professor Black Truth always made some tweets today about being on code. You can't take verbiage you didn't create and turn it into something else that actually sounds like these people right here when you're doing that. So that, I don't know how much more off code you can be at that point. You just dim in black skin and a loud voice. Ooh, I could cuss. MF for this, MF for that, MF for this, MF for that. Yeah. I'm going to scream on you. Then I'm going to mute you, and then I'm going to make up my own scenario about what you are. Ooh, Lordy me. I don't know. And see, y'all, I want y'all women to stop talking about all men, this, that. Y'all be dealing with men like that. Those are males, okay? Not men. So if you want men, a man gonna tell you from time to time, hey, stop that. Hey, cut that out. Hey, knock that off. You know why? Because that's leadership. And if you got a real man around you, he gonna let you know who the boss is. And if you can't get that through your head, then you will be your boss solo. See how that work? See, leadership say, I ain't gonna keep nobody that don't want to be kept. See it. But we are in this environment of the I am the table. Yeah, I know. That's why there ain't no food on it. Anyway, continuing.
You work towards that end?
Oh, certainly, of course. I'm all for it. I think that perhaps this is a horrible way to make people realize that they have to stand up and make this a good country,
Shut that
really.
kid up.
And I'm wondering if you would comment for me on what you think the effect of Martin Luther King's death has been.
Well, I think it'll bring around a lot of people to realize that it's best not to be violent.
What do you think of the violence since his death?
I was in Washington the last 4 days, as it happens, and I was disturbed by the situation down there. It's terrible. The violence going on right down there now, just contrary to what he stood for.
How do you feel about Negroes?
Well, I think they've got to be given a little better break than they have been given.
Would you work to that end now?
Yes, I always have.
More so than you have in the past?
I travel on the road. I meet a lot of them. I do business with
A lot of them. You know, because Negroes are a whole different species of being. You know what I mean?
some of them. And I think we've got to realize that they've got to be given a little better break in this country.
Thank you.
They need to be given a little better break in this country. You really got time to be arguing with another victim of white supremacy? Y'all really got time to do that? Jeez.
Madam, what are you going to tell your children about Martin Luther King's death and Negroes in the future?
Well, that he was died for a good cause. I will tell my children that I believe that everybody should have the same freedom that the white people do. You know, Negro and white should have the same freedom.
Do you feel now that you should do something more about civil rights than maybe you've done in the past?
Here's another thing to take a good solid notice of. Notice how there is not a overwhelming list of different individual groups named. By the way, I hear a lot of this, do your lineage and all of this. I guess for you youngsters, you actually have to do that to prove that you go back to a plantation. Damn. What was your grandma, 25? Golly, I got to be wondering. Like, this kills me. My grandma and my great grandma, I've shown some pictures just on my Instagram of relatives to who were living. Well, no, some of them were long gone before I came along. But like even with my great grandfather, or my great grandfather, he was born in 18. He's born free. He's born a free Negro. But I said all that to say that I am the first generation to be labeled black. Actually, I believe my birth certificate say Negro. But my original birth certificate, now it says black, but I'm the first generation of black. There wasn't no black on no birth certificates when my mother was born. My mother was born the same year as Stokely Carmichael, which they were marked Negro. Straight up, Negro. Like I tell you all the story of my grandfather, born on an Indian reservation, named, he got his father's name, and they were like, oh, yeah, we're going to do that because he ain't finna take this name of this other man. So, Negro, no rights of the Cherokee Nation to which you are born into. There's some indigenous part and heritage for yourself just in this generation, but 2 generations past in my own family. So when these people be talking, man, you can't figure out who go back to, what are you talking about? I think all of us, for those of us who are at least in our 40s, we even had some grandparents, because we're of the generation to where our grandparents were actually 60 when we came along, not 30. So things have changed because grandma's 30 years old now. You know. Oh, no. I can say that because that's in my family. I've literally seen it. I've lived that one. Mm-hmm. Yep, I watched my cousin have the generational curses repeat itself, and she sure enough was a grandma at, actually, I'm sorry, 28. My bad, Sandra. So let's continue.
Yes, I do. I really haven't done anything.
You intend to now?
Well, I'll tell you, it's very difficult. I have 4 small ones. My husband travels. But, I will teach my children this. And that if there's anything, if I do have spare time and I could do something, I certainly would.
How do you react to the violence that has followed Dr. King's death in the ghettos?
I think it's terrible. I don't think people should do this. This isn't what he fought for or died for.
Do you think if you were in one of those ghettos, you might do the same?
I don't think I would, really, because I feel that I am a good Christian, and that even being poor or living in bad surroundings, I don't feel that I would react this way. Because if I did believe in Dr. King, I wouldn't do this.
You sure?
Now, they tried to do this with the George Floyd thing, but that just really, it wasn't catching. And for good reason, because nobody should be paying any attention to. Well, I know it's us and it's our society that has completely co-signed your oppression, but if you really truly believe in Dr. King's message right after that we just whacked him, you guys should be peaceful while his body is headed for a drawer in the morgue. But be peaceful. We just destroyed your hope and your leader. We just blew his head off. So what are we telling you? That you are having something to, so go home and just be in peace. We've slain your leader. We've slain your hope. Yep, just go on back home. Nothing to see here. See how these people are? So now you're trying to dictate to us even how to mourn our leaders and heroes. And then even like what you heard about the whole martyr thing, or we're going to make him a martyr. They're going to be bending over backwards trying to make conditions better for the Negroes. Well, this is the type of situation we are really in, y'all. And I hope you understand, this attitude ain't left. It's just that they are more crafty on how to hide this attitude. And I think I might even have to prove that to you here before we go, too, because there's a whole nother video out of another country, I believe it's Toronto, that I need to show y'all. Crazy.
Ashamed this happened in America?
Yes, I am. I'm very ashamed.
Can you tell me what effect Martin Luther King's death has had on you?
Well, it shook me up pretty good.
You ashamed it happened?
Let me put this bit of truth up here on the screen real quick. Take a pause for the cause, because here's one part y'all need to understand. Read that right there on the screen. And if you didn't know what the Torah was, the Torah is the first few books of the Bible, the first 5, I believe. So if you just need to understand what you need to get up in your system, just a little taste of truth here. And we do know who your oppressor is. So even if you're not a spiritual person, does not this message make simple, basic logic? Or are you too stuck on the notion that, oh man, that's why Jesus and all this? Look at the message, dummy. Don't tell me about what this is and with the white man and all that. Look at the message. That's why we not talking forgiveness talk. People get so hemmed up on what they believe, they stop paying attention. And I'm really getting tired of these idiots who come up in these spaces. What's a foundational Black American? I mean, I'm about ready to tell anybody. Somebody come in your space asking that stupid question. Either handle them one or two ways. If you in a petty mood, roast them. If not, just kick them out to space and keep it pushing, because they're there to waste your time. Ain't no question about who we are in this day and age. We the ones that who you don't run up on, and you know that much. So let's keep it a buck. What's foundational Black American mean? You know exactly what it is. You know them women that you always trying to get next to? You don't know the difference? Oh yeah, you do. Because the one thing about our women over here is some of them still hold on to class. We can't really say that for that some of y'all coming up here with them the lack of modesty. Because we still come from that southern raising situation. So you can't be up out here looking all messy and trashy. That's one thing for me. If you're going to be up here as any kind of leader or elder speaking for Black folks about Black agendas, I don't want to hear no grown grandmother age woman in public talking like a sailor. There is decorum and there is etiquette and there is femininity. If you know about the Apocrypha, one of the most feminine women was one of the most strongest women. Chopped the enemy's head off just to save her people. But she used her femininity. So she did. She got her Sixth Goddess on, went up in there, caught that man sleeping and cut his head off and freed her people. That's the type of thing y'all got to be on if y'all really talking about the cause. But we'll see.
In America?
No, it shouldn't have never happened anywhere.
What do you think of the violence that's occurred since in some of the cities?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say anything about it.
What do you think of Negroes?
Well, I think they're just as good as any white people are.
Do you think they should have full equality?
They should, yes.
What would you?
Well, they're human, same as anybody else.
Thank you.
What would you do to help them get it now?
I'd do anything I could to help them.
Have you in the past?
I've been trying, yes, sir. I sure have.
Okay, Vinny. You tell me what your thoughts are now, a couple of days after Martin Luther King's death?
He definitely looks like he don't give a
damn.
damn.
I'm shocked and horrified like everybody else, and I only hope that his death will be of some benefit to the interracial situation. I think a lot of people are reacting the wrong way about it with violence, and that'll never do any good, so let's hope that they'll see the light and feel differently about it.
What do you think Congress should do now?
Hey, old white man, kiss our black ass. How about that?
Well, I think they've got to take a very different attitude, particularly the southern senators and representatives, and get going on really opening up the situation for the colored people.
What is your
equal opportunities.
What is your profession, sir?
I'm a lawyer.
Little difference between Negroes and whites in America?
Well, there certainly has been, but there shouldn't be. I mean, the colored people that have benefited from education and have shown that they have the spirit to be real Americans, no reason at all why they should be discriminated against.
What do you think?
Did this dude just say blacks have benefited from education? So the people to whom you deprived an education of 200.5 years, all of a sudden now all the Negroes have. Well, then actually that is quite a feat, isn't it? As soon as you let these people in to even learn, they're getting college educations. Going from people. See, that's what the thing, this myth about ignorant, stupid black people. No, you were keeping them from learning, which unfortunately some of the aspects of the attack, J. Edgar Hoover's attack on, and y'all gotta understand, that was a multifaceted plan. Drug on war is a drug, or drug on, war on drugs is literally a war on black people. And what it is, it's a multifaceted scheme. So it works with deprivation, oppression, then you are using, this is where Hitler got this tactic from. You start using the propaganda arm of your weapon arsenal, which is the media, to start now making this group of people look a certain way. Kind of like what they're doing right now in 2022, making black folks once again the face of violence. See, we're just reliving history. And they're pulling out all the stops of everything that worked before. So you have to know what happened before to know how to prevent it. Most of you just woke up and cracked your egg and you believe you know it all. Well, you don't. And so I'm sure what you're seeing right now is the first time you've ever seen. Well, I know it is. So again, ingest some more wisdom and knowledge from those who have it.
I think the biggest stumbling block is to the Negro cause?
Oh, this fanatical attitude of a lot of them that they're being oppressed and they have to go out and be violent and react violently and steal and rob to show their feelings about it. That's hurting them more than anything, I believe.
And I'm really trying not to cuss here. But I want y'all to fully understand this type of cat is very much the type of people you are dealing with today. They are just better at hiding it. The leopard did not change its spots. So you hear this, and he's a lawyer. But at the time frame, you just didn't have to actually act concerned. And so this is their level of acting concern at the time. They've since became better actors and actresses. You know what I'm saying? But he just used the word react. Right. So he even understands, thank you, Nikki. He understands this action is actually happening to these people. It's an active system of oppression against these people. And now we just smoked your leader. And now we're trying to dictate to you how you react. One of the reasons, and of course we know why they killed him, is because he was looking to go to Washington and he started talking about reparations. How many people that always got Martin Luther King in their mouth ever mentioned the reason why he got killed was not for us and integration? It was us and reparations. That's why they killed him. The integration thing happened, and I played the interview here where, because a lot of people attribute that going into a burning house to Dr. Martin Luther King. However, it is him that said it, but the one part that always got lost in translation over the years is that he was actually saying, what's my man's name? Bobby, the straight or the gay man who was B1. I can't. His name is Baldwin, James Baldwin. James Baldwin. So they said. So he was mentioning in an interview that Jimmy Baldwin, because he was calling him Jimmy. He said Jimmy Baldwin said he feels that we have integrated our people into a burning house. And so, truth be told, yeah, he did. So here's the one way to get us away from that burning house. Give us our reparations and leave us be.
Do you think it's better to maintain law and order in this country or to have justice here?
We have to have both. Justice.
You can't, because he just identified two different things. Can you have law and order? Law and order means maintaining control of the Negroes. Or do you have justice, which actually means equality? Well, you got to have both. No, sir. No, that's not actually how that works. Let's get back there. Let's play that again.
Attitude of a lot of them that they're being oppressed and they have to go out and be violent and react violently and steal and rob to show their feelings about it. That's hurting them more than anything, I believe.
You think it's better to maintain law and order in this country or to have justice here?
We have to have both.
Against. Right.
Justice is absolutely essential, but law and order is necessary too. They're not antipathetic terms. I mean, they should go together.
Thank you, sir. Okay, you're rolling. And what has been your reaction over the last couple of days since March?
So for those who need an interpreter, because you guys is new, so y'all ain't really been around something like that. That means that I believe that white supremacy should rule and be maintained, and whichever way we need to use to maintain order, whether that be manipulation of making these Negroes think that someone likes them, that will help get them under control. Well, then we're going to go that route. So that's basically how the Democrats have kept black folks voting. But you can't convince them of that.
Martin Luther King was murdered.
Well, no comment. I haven't got nothing to say about that.
No comment on his death whatsoever?
No.
No feelings about it?
Well, I feel sorry that things like this have happened, naturally, and it's just one of those things that has to be corrected, and it's a long time being corrected. That's the trouble.
What do you think could be done to correct it now?
Well, I think they're on the right path anyhow. I think they're doing a lot of talking about it, preaching and whatnot. I think that'll conclude the whole situation.
Has your general reaction to Negroes changed at all?
No, it never has. I do business with some of these people.
You ashamed this happened in America?
I am, yes. It's a disgrace, I think.
What's wrong with America then?
Nothing's wrong with America. I'm 100% American.
Why does it happen here?
I wouldn't know. They've got too many of the foreign element coming in here. I think it's wrecking our country.
Did you just catch that? The foreign element. So he just moved over to immigration. That was an interesting pivot now, wasn't it?
By the foreign element.
Well, they're coming from all over the world, and it makes it rough for the average American person.
Are you what, second, third generation American?
No, I'm a second, yeah.
Where'd your parents come from?
Germany.
Did he just paperwork check him on national TV? Well, I'm an American. Shoot, American's American. So these black folks who have been here for hundreds of years, you got the nerve to have your big nose punk ass sitting up here talking about, oh, this foreign element. You just got here from Germany 2 generations ago. The nerve of these people. And they come up in front of us, well, you know, man, let me tell you something, man. Not everybody over here is unlearned. We know who the hell you is. Coming over here, well, I mean, what difference does it make how long my people? I'm American. I'm American. Do you see how fast this man knew he wasn't from here? And it's a white man that's asking him this. Well, I mean, because he's talking about American. Well, what do you mean by American? Where are you from? I mean, he just paperwork checked. He paper checked him just like that. Let's get back to that. And it almost looked like he was going to be hesitant in answering.
I do business with some of these people.
You ashamed this happened in America?
I am, yes. It's a disgrace, I think.
What's wrong with America then?
Nothing's wrong with America. I'm 100% American.
Why does it happen here?
I guess I wouldn't know. They've got too many of the foreign element coming in here. I think it's wrecking our country.
What do you mean by the foreign element?
Well, they're coming from all over the world, and it makes it rough for the average American person.
Are you what, second, third generation American?
No, I'm the second, yeah.
Where'd your parents come from?
Germany. My father came from Germany when he was a very young man.
And you think anything unusual about the rioting that's occurred since Martin Luther King's death?
No, I wouldn't say that, no.
Doesn't upset you?
Not well, everybody's upset about this whole situation. What can they do about it?
Well, what would you do about it now?
Well, I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, the way it's going is out of hand completely right now. When I have to bring out the militia, why, it's pretty rough.
Oh, wow. Going to have to bring out the militia. Now, remember the very first thing that I said, how they were talking about how nothing was going on? And, well, you know, I just don't think. And now the smoke has reached the top of the building so you could see it from a distance. So now all of a sudden they're like, well, what do we do? How do we change it? How do we address this? Oh, now you care to acknowledge that people are pissed off. Well, I mean, I just think that they're not really doing themselves a good service by burning up and stuff. And I mean, being violent. Yeah. See, here's the point. You shed the blood of an innocent man. And now you're asking all of these oppressed people to whom look to that man and love that man to absolutely do nothing in response. Well, how could you ever deem him a leader if you do not expect a response from his followers? You made him a leader, let him be one. And let your damn town burn. Because guess what? You can rebuild. He ain't coming back to life. So once again, kiss our black ass.
Should black Americans and white Americans be the same?
Well, I think we should all unite, and it's one thing we have to do to keep peace today.
Where are you from?
Assimilate.
Where?
Parsippany.
Parsippany. What's your reaction been to Dr. Martin Luther King's death in the couple of days since?
Well, I think it's a tragic thing. I don't think it should have happened, but we'll just have to go on without it.
If you were living in one of those ghettos, do you think you might have rioted as a result of it?
Wow. No, I don't think so.
Just have to go on without it.
As far as I'm concerned, there always have been.
Thank you.
Yeah, family, I want you to look at something. Now, be clear. Your enemy is not other victims of white supremacy. Your enemy is the system of white supremacy. That is, I guess, the lesson for today about the code. And here's another thing. You guys want to be so much, I guess, you have been projecting yourselves as learned individuals. Well, let me see if this part is something that you ever heard of before. Probably not.
On the radio? Is that the way you heard it? So you were driving, you left that gas station at 2nd and Linden, what, about 6 or?
I don't have any way of knowing. I think it's around that time, but I don't even know if it's Linden. I know the approximate area it is. And, I've seen the map on the Enquirer.
And you were going back to pick up this man that you say is Raul? Is
No, I just waiting the car back.
So you heard all this confusion, turned and flipped on the radio. They said Dr. King's been shot. Did you think you were set up at that point?
No, I was headed toward New Orleans when I had the radio on. I used to keep the radio on, and I think I didn't have too strong feelings about the shooting.
When you met Raul, you didn't know any other name for him. That's the name that he said was his, and that's all you ever knew.
Yeah, I did. Just know.
And you met him where?
Canada.
Up in Canada. And you just met in a saloon, or?
It was a saloon in a waterfront area of Montreal.
You never became good friends then?
No, I wasn't good friend. Just business. These were all aliases, I assume.
You don't think Raul was a real name at all then? Huh?
No, I've got some Freedom of Information papers and they're saying there's a Raul Santiago or something in New Orleans. It's supposed to be a him, but I don't have the FBI. That's material from the FBI files, but I don't have nothing to substantiate that.
So you think their mind was made up when they got you?
Well, it had to be made up. They couldn't. Well, I don't know if there's any penalty for extraditing someone fraudulently or not, but I think I can see their legal point where they've got to stick with their story.
He sounds very, very, very much familiar to the former agent that I played on my last broadcast. It's very interesting that they have very extremely similar situations. They have handlers, and then all of a sudden they just got set out there. Kind of sounds familiar. I mean, I literally just played that story the other day. And that was what we went through on my last broadcast. We wrapped up the last broadcast with that video. Queen Adia said he stuck to his script. Absolutely. And Florine said a story that's been whispered by mainstream media, death by the U.S. government. And y'all want to be leaders? You want to be black leaders? You know how to treat the black leaders. Yes, they do. So I'm going to tell you like this. Be careful what you ask for. Because you just might get it. And if you're not ready to play with these people for real, don't play with these people for real. So whoever is selling this line to y'all, that this is something that can even be done, you have grossly been mistaken. And one of the reasons why is because what I just played to you tonight is the first time that you have ever heard that. And you see, that's fine if you were in my audience learning to be part of the audience. But you're actually coming out here like as if you teach this. That part ain't gonna cut it because that is off code, and we understand that the code is the leader. And I'm sure, some things you'll see on the internet will have you doing this, but hey, That's why they make lanes. Pick one and stay in it. When you got a person that's a lane hopper, you might want to be concerned about that. Because at the end of the day, it's very important to maintain credibility. And right now, I just want to hope that you have thoroughly got this message that you need to maintain your credibility. And as y'all have known about the Mike Tyson situation, the guy that tried to pick a fight with him has an extensive criminal record, repeat offender, criminal, and was just being a drunk white man and ended up having to get punched on by Mike Tyson because he thought he was going to be able to be disrespectful and do a little soft assault, and it didn't turn out the way he thought it did or would. Now, here's the other thing that you got to understand. Joe Biden is the father of modern mass incarceration. And if you look down right below there, you see that little thing? Okay, Mr. New Politician. Now they're in a prison. Okay, Mr. New Black Politician figure or political figure. Paperwork check. Who's your people? Who vouches for you? What have you said and done? Yeah, because they're going to vet you. They vet their little agents. And then look at the little one next to it. Look at that dog. Black people. Yeah, we got a situation. Here's the black leader. Look at the white supremacy. Oh, the white supremacy throws the dog a bone. And now the dog has turned on everyone else. Let me get that banner off so you can see the bottom of it. There you go. You see that dog? Now he done flipped on the rest of the crowd, right? And Brother Afro Elite made a very good statement here. So this is one of his works, which says, "Honorable will always stay honorable. Who everybody truly is will eventually come out. We all have a moral obligation to do the right thing at all times. I don't wish bad on anybody, but I wish good for the people who are good. Black first." And truth be told, that actually is very similar to something that Dr. Neely Fuller has always said. So, and I know this brother's a good student of Dr. Neely Fuller, so it just showed in that. It definitely just showed in that. Now going down to Mike Tyson, just so you know what manhood is. Social media made y'all way too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it. And that's true. Because I see so much disrespect out of men that disrespect men they don't know. I don't know who is raising these cats to be doing that. Because, I come from a whole different era. That thing can go bad for you real quick doing that. You don't know who folks is tied to. You don't know what's what, who's who. And you putting yourself out there to do that, man, I'm cool. That's just reckless and foolish, and I don't partake in that. Now, on the far right, of course, on the bottom, you see somebody that actually, shout out to them, that put that billboard up. The Foundational Black Americans, paid for by the Citizens for Reparations. So, yeah, man, that's cool. And then right above that big old check, you cut that check. And that's on the billboard, family, so that's pretty tight. No tangibles, no vote. Of course, we have our brother Marcel Dixon, who's one of his campaign ads I played at the beginning of my broadcast. And that is who he is to replace. We are going to speak it into existence. he is replacing Jim Clyburn this year. Yes, indeed. Get him on out of there because Clyburn has got to go. Can you dig it? So, that being said, we got to hit that interlude one more time. And I think I do have one little thing I want to play for you before I go. And then we're almost done here. But I hope that you guys got a good feel for the real game of empowerment. It ain't no fluff, all the glitz and glamour. No, it's dedication and sacrifice. This is the weekly wrap up. We will be right back.
Tick faster. That'll be the hour they knock the slick blaster. Dick dastardly, a Muttley with sick laughter. A gunfight and they come to cut the mix master. And living the true gods. Giving y'all nothing but the lick like two broads. Got more lyrics than the church got ooh lords. And they hold the mic at your attention like two swords. Or you the one with two blades on it. Hey you, don't touch the mic like it's AIDS on it.
Alrighty. Let me see. I thought I had downloaded this. Bear with me real quick. He said this was good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Queen Adia. Let's see. I was going to do that. I'm looking for one last little clip here. This is it. I think this might be it. Because there's a story that I did not actually report on, but it's a story that's kind of been going on for a while. Definitely for a while. Okay. Well, recently, not a while. Just over the past few days, I guess. Unfortunate story, man. We got these people out here that are just lost. Absolutely lost. And it's sad, man, that we have all of these people out here that only look to target people that look like them. And this 51-year-old brother, you live 51 years just to have some young punk run up on you from behind and shoot you in the head just so he could rob whatever a security guard is carrying. That's another thing about that. Some of these youngsters, it's like, what's up with that? Like, is this some kind of new way? Because crack babies wasn't even doing this. Crack babies wasn't doing nothing like this. This is some new shit.
Investigations that Chief has talked about, one of them being 387 Cleveland Avenue. I know that spun a lot of questions and response from the media, and there were inquiries coming in yesterday. We were trying to do our due diligence and be in detail to work through exactly what we had there. Essentially, what we had was a call that came in in reference to someone that spotted an individual matching the Crime Stoppers. It references person of interest that we had in question. Officers from our Zone 3 patrol units did a phenomenal job in pursuing that individual along with our gang unit. They were in the area. They were able to apprehend that individual and hold him there until homicide detectives could secure the scene and get that individual back to custody, where we conducted an interview at that time to try to learn more as to what we had. And what we know at this point is that we were able to establish that this was our individual that we know to be involved. This is Mr. Anthony Frazier, that was killed here, the security guard that worked at the location which all of you are familiar with regarding this incident. We have made an arrest regarding this case on a Mr. Stanley Anderson of 11/13 of 1990. He is 30 years old. He did have a 12-cycle criminal history, including battery, obstruction, marijuana possession, as well as aggravated assault. So we have attributed this incident to a robbery-related motive. You did have the video that we released, and the Crime Stoppers tips were vital in being able to get a name associated with this individual, and our office was able to shore up some of that information and make sure that we developed a probable cause to charge this individual for felony murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault this time.
Well, short-lived robbery spree, dude. And unfortunately, I mean, that man ain't even in the dirt yet, and they already got your stupid ass. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is ridiculous. And I mean, when I seen this story, I'm like, come on, man. But, you know, let this be a lesson. You got your fast money. I don't know how that's going to end up. Well, yeah, I do. Because they already have you. And they finna get their time up out of here. Up out of you. They finna take all the time they want up out of you, sir. So, yeah, cancel Christmas, man. Because, yeah, you're done, bro. you up out of here, man. And you better hope. I don't know about Georgia. Does Georgia have a death penalty? Because with something so brazen, it's caught on tape, and you a black dude, shit. And here's the perfect opportunity because it's black on black crime. So you done killed a black man, they would love nothing else than to execute your ass. You've already done handled half of their work for them. They're getting 2 for the price of 1. Good grief. Y'all got to be more mindful. And I mean, we got to, well, I mean, truth be told, everybody ain't going to make it. Simple as that. And we are seeing those exposing themselves, the 2/3 Club volunteers. They are exposing themselves on a daily basis. There's been an uptick in all of these other things and violences around the world. And especially, there's another one that just happened in San Francisco. An Asian, no, not Asian. There was a random stabbing on, matter of fact, that's what I need to play y'all too. Because this thing here, let's see, let me get this real quick. As I saw this, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Y'all got to watch your backs out here. And I mean watch your backs. Where's this at? Nope, that's not. Bear with me, family. I am looking for this particular video. Okay, not that. Okay. Oh, no. Close. Here's one I do. Here's what I do have to play. Okay, so we're getting this down. And while I'm getting this in here, please hit the like and share button, family. Let's see. See if we're getting in here. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay. There we go. All right. Let me get this in the studio real quick. Yeah, you said lost souls. Absolutely lost souls. Absolutely lost souls. Okay, check this one out.
The CTV News exclusive. Nearly 48 hours after being pushed from the platform, Shamsa al-Baluchi is still in shock, and it's easy to understand why.
And we want to warn you, some of the footage is disturbing. The person accused in the attack now in custody. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live with more. Beth.
Nathan, this really could have been a lot worse. Shamsa al-Baluchi was on her way home Sunday night. She has a broken rib and a swollen nose.
Horrible. I'm terrified. The way I felt, the way I was pushed is just crazy.
Shamsa al-Baluchi is still surprised she survived.
Like every time I stand up like that, I have to scream, ah! Every time it's painful, right? If I drop this and I want to pick it up, it's a big problem right now.
The 39-year-old says she was waiting on the Yonge subway platform heading home Sunday night when she felt a push. This video obtained by the Toronto Star shows the moment it happened. Al-Baluchi remembers waiting for the train.
Next thing I know, I'm flying and I'm under the track. I don't know how I got the strength, but I rolled like a roly-poly to the side in there to squish it in so that train wouldn't, and I was screaming in pain and people are screaming at the same time and the train appeared.
Toronto police have arrested 45-year-old Edith Frayne and charged her with attempted murder.
45 years old. That's why, again, you have to also see, again, another thing that we do here. We also talk about staying vigilant. You got to have your head on a swivel. This woman was caught slipping. Let this woman walk right up to her. And, that was that. And you got to be, and especially with one of these people, like, what? You don't know her. So why will you even let that woman get that close to you? However, foundational Black Americans, I'm pretty certain that we would have not been in this situation slipping like she was.
They say they believe the attack is random and there is no reason to believe the two women knew one another. Frayne was caught at the Finch Go Bus terminal after a tip came in.
One of our collectors who observed somebody at a station and they notified the authorities, which is exactly what our employees are great for.
Al-Baluchi was discharged from the hospital with a broken rib, but still in pain. She came back for a follow-up, getting here no less on the TTC.
I will not let this person stop me. I am an innocent person.
Al-Baluchi doesn't understand why she was pushed. She hopes the TTC can be safe for everyone. Edith Frayne's case was in court today. She spoke by phone. The Justice of the Peace ordered Frayne not to have contact with the victim. The case was pushed to next Wednesday. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle, back to you.
See, people be comfortable out here. It's like, and not saying, move in a paranoid fashion, but you definitely don't let nobody just walk up on you that close to where they can push you in front of a damn train. We have light rails here, so I don't know nobody here who would even let you come that close to them standing on a train platform. Like, that wouldn't happen here. So, I mean, again, Canada's a different place. It's definitely not America, so here, people are going to be way more standoffish and, anything like that. Like, hey, what you doing? So it's going to be, that's, instead of being able to sneak up on somebody, that person's going to turn around on you. Things might end up differently, drastically, quickly. You know what I'm saying? So before I go, I wanted to play this last little piece. And it's a understanding. If you want to be in this space, it is not a sprint. It is absolutely a marathon. And with that being said, all these people, this is about just, this is 2 minutes. So this last clip that I'm playing, I want y'all just to go ahead and just pay attention to all the age and the different scholarship that you have in the room at this table but they still have to sit up there and listen to the revolutionary.
I voted for him. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I was out there with my wife voting for our brother. I, like you, am very proud that a black man sits in the White House. But I also understand very clearly, and we should understand that it is the White House. And until we exercise power to force that house to address our agenda. Now remember, our dear sister Julianne Malvo mentioned A. Philip Randolph. Man, that was a long time ago. And the cry was jobs and justice. In the March on Washington in 1963, the cry was jobs and justice. In the 20-year anniversary of the March on Washington, the cry was jobs and justice. We are now in 2010. And what is the cry? Jobs and justice. Well, wait a minute. How long are you going to sit around begging white people to do for us what we have the power to do for ourselves?
And with that being said, family, we do absolutely have the power to do it ourselves. And that takes discipline, that takes character, that takes integrity, sacrifice, and fortitude. Most importantly, it requires wisdom, patience, and activity. I hope that this actually sits in well with everyone who gets this broadcast, and share on your social media, because although this is a smaller platform of the new black media, I still get the same treatment as everyone else. So, the shadow banning and all of that good funky stuff. So, with that being said, it does not change the outcome of things that were meant to be. And for any of the Bible buffs out there, Job 9:24 says, "The earth was given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, who and where is he?" And we have clearly now learned very openly and abundantly clear the system of white supremacy and all of its minions is nothing more or less than Satan itself. The spirit of envy, greed, and hate. All attributes of that good old demon six, aka Legion, whichever you want to call him, Beelzebub. If that is who you're subscribed to, I only have one thing to say to you. Babylon is fallen. Babylon is fallen. Let it fall and let us rise. And with that being said, family, you can follow me on Instagram, BeatZillaPDX. You can follow me on Twitter at BeatZillaPDX. You can follow me on Facebook at BeatZillaPDX, on Patreon, BeatZillaPDX Official, and on Melanated People at Michael Beatzilla Whitmore. And of course, you can email me at ourrealtruth@gmail.com. That's ourrealtruth@gmail.com. And if you feel so inclined to put some money in the bucket by way of donation, you definitely can, and all is appreciated. You could do so by Cash App, $ Beatzilla PDX. That is Cash App, $ Beatzilla PDX. Of course, we also have PayPal. That is Zilla Muzak. ZILLAMUZAK. And that's at PayPal. So, man, I appreciate every last one of y'all hanging out with us tonight. For the new subscribers, welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciate all of y'all. And I hope that you have been enjoying these broadcasts. This is going to be one of the longer broadcasts if you're new. I'm trying to keep them to around 3 hours, but this one was all about the information. So I just wanted to make sure I got all the information I wanted to get in one broadcast. So we had to make it longer. But, hey, y'all some night riders out here. So, we always get it in over here. And I definitely appreciate all of y'all being here. You know what I'm saying? Say F jobs, let's build. I know that's right. So always remember, man, we are stronger together. And there is no one monkey that stops this show. So with that being said, remember the element that we are actually having out here and the energy that we have been able to put out in the wind has our enemy praying to Satan like this.
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us.
But when the Most High steps in for you and them angels work on your behalf and them spirits form that hedge of protection around you, sometimes the people get spiritually whooped. And then them spirits just kind of got to strut on off.
Teach your man how to squabble. Get that trigger next time, nigga.
And always remember, it is reparations or nothing. Shout out Black Alpha Cast. And shout out to the rest of the New Black Media and all the B1 foundational Black American descendants of American chattel slavery individuals. Shout out to all of y'all. And to anybody else who does not understand our position on reparations, it's no tangibles, no vote. And if you don't understand that, let me help you get it.
First was the controversial Reverend Jeremiah Wright.
I say America, America's mother, America's daddy, America can eat a dick, America can lick the balls.
And with that being said, always remember to slang the stone of truth, because that is our greatest and strongest and mightiest weapon. In the world of blatant chaos, we got the double-edged sword that cuts so deep that it could cut through spirit, flesh, and stone. And we always know who Satan is, and he'll always catch them stones from over this way. So y'all have a blessed, prosperous, safe weekend, everybody. Shalom, y'all.
When you know who Satan is,
Yes, sir.
you don't have to kill him. No. The stone of truth.
Yes.
See, that's what you throw.
Yes, right, right.
Allah says, had we wished to take a pastime from before, surely we would have done it. Nay, we cast truth at falsehood till we knock out its brains. Every one of you that knows the truth, stand up and tell it from the mountaintop. Black people can't take it no more. So wherever you are on the job, in the factory, I don't care where you are. If you know the truth, stand up on the truth and tell Satan, who the hell are you to try and pick my friends? Farrakhan is God's man, and you are from the enemy of God. So to hell with you. Stand up on it like a man.